Bristol's one of the most awesome short tracks we run. It's one of the deals where if you can keep your head on your shoulders during the race, you're all right. But the racetrack tries to rip your head off your body, and it's just hard to hang on.
And Dale Earnhardt goes for his third consecutive Winston Cup victory. That hasn't been done since Bobby Allison accomplished it back in late 1982. The quest will come at Bristol International Raceway in Tennessee, where it's a very cloudy and overcast day. It's been raining and very cool this Sunday afternoon. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Bob Jenkins along with Larry Newber. Well, this is a 1/2 mile racetrack here at Bristol International Raceway, so that you consider it a short track. However, in many ways, including the way that you set up a car, it's a super speedway.
There's no question, Bob. This is the world's shortest super speedway, and the cars and their setups necessarily reflect this. It starts on the right front, where inner liners are required. It's the only short track in the trail where they insist that you do that. That's a tire within a tire for safety reasons. All the shocks are specially designed and applied for racing here at Bristol. And every single driver has his own peculiar way of supporting his neck during the race. Absolutely critical factor here. And when the race is over, most every car taken back to the shop and taken right back down to the ground and rebuilt. There's that much damage they suffer just racing here.
Well, although you set up a car for a super speedway, it's in many ways a short track, and that includes the number of caution periods. Now, the average number of caution periods here at Bristol is 8.4 for a total of 53 laps. Compare that to another short track, North Wilkesboro. They have an average of 5.5 caution periods per race, a total of about 34 laps. Well, one of the stories here this weekend is the pole sitter. It's Harry Gant. He won a pole last year in a Winston Cup race, but he hasn't won a race since late 1985.
Since late 1985, Bob, Harry has not only been on a losing streak, he's been on a non-finishing streak. It's just been horrendous times for the Hal Needham and Burt Reynolds crew. But they've done something a little different this week. They've gone back to some techniques and some setups that maybe are 15, 20 years old. And so far, they're working.
Dr. Jerry Punch will be covering the pit area for us today. Let's go to him for more on this Harry Gant story. Jerry?
Thank you, Bob. You know, one top 10 finish since October of last year for this Skull Bandit team. Almost unbelievable. But Travis Carter, the crew chief, tried something a little bit different, as you said. He went into retirement, went into the archives of Winston Cup crew chiefs, and brought out 60-year-old Herb Knabb, a crew chief who's been extremely successful here at Bristol. Knabb has had drivers like Chargin' Charlie Glotzback, Cale Yarborough, Bobby Allison, a number of drivers. His first driver that he helped go to victory lane here in 1965 was Junior Johnson. Junior Johnson made him a crew chief. He was there until 1977, and interestingly enough, the crew chief who replaced him at that operation was Travis Carter. Now they're back together, and maybe Herb Knabb at 60 and Travis at 38 can put Harry Gant at victory lane today.
Thank you, Jerry. The defending champion of this race is Rusty Wallace, and he'll start outside of row number 1. He was second fastest qualifier for this Valleydale 500, which is being brought to you by Quaker State Motor Oil. New Quaker State with QSX keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. Some wet spots on pit road especially. The track is by and large dry. We had quite a rainstorm pass through here earlier in the day, but for now, just cloudy skies. Let's hope that we can get this entire 500-lap race in here at Bristol International Raceway. Here's the starting lineup for the Valleydale 500. The pole sitter is Harry Gant from Taylorsville, North Carolina in the Skull Bandit Chevy number 33. He qualified at 1:15.674. On the outside of row number 1 will be Rusty Wallace from St. Louis in car number 27, the Kodiak Pontiac, 1:15.347. In the second row, Dale Earnhardt from Kannapolis, North Carolina in the Wrangler Chevrolet, and outside of the second row will be Jeff Bodine in car number 5, the Levi Garrett Chevy. In row number 3, Alan Kulwicki, car number 7, the Xerox Ford. Alongside will be Bobby Allison from Hueytown, Alabama in the Miller American Buick. Row number 4, Ken Schrader from Trenton, Missouri in the Red Baron Pizza Ford, car 90. Outside of row number 4 will be Morgan Shepherd from Conover, North Carolina in the Quaker State Buick. The fifth row, Benny Parsons in car number 35 and Neil Bonnet in car number 75. Row number 6 consists of Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia, and Darrell Waltrip from Franklin, Tennessee, car 17. In row number 7, it's Terry Labonte in car number 11. However, he will be replaced early in the race by Jeff Bodine. Terry still suffering from that broken shoulder. And outside of the 7th row will be Sterling Marlin in car number 44. He's from Columbia, Tennessee. Going to row number 8, it's Ricky Rudd in car number 15 and Kyle Petty in 21. Then Dave Marcus in car number 71, along with Richard Petty, who drives the STP Pontiac. Going in row 10, it's Phil Parsons in number 55 and Bobby Hillen Jr. in car number 8. Then in row number 11, it's number 52, Jimmy Means and Eddie Birchwale in 67. The 12th row, Michael Waltrip in 30 and Dale Jarrett in 18. In the 13th row will be Slick Johnson in car 12 and J.D. McDuffie in 70. The next to the last row, 64, Jerry Cranmer and 60, Kay Ulrich. And in the final row, it's car number 81, driven by Mike Potter, and 41, Ronnie Thomas.
And Bob, it's official. Dale Earnhardt now has the best start in the contemporary history of Winston Cup racing. Nobody has ever won 4 of the first 6 races of the season in the past. Mr. Earnhardt now has that record we all thought he was going for.
So 1 pace lap has been completed. There is the Terry Labonte machine. Brett Bodine will be replacing him very early in this race. Terry is starting the race, of course, because if he starts, he picks up the Winston Cup points. But as you can see, Brett Bodine has helmet on, and at the earliest opportunity, perhaps even this time around, it'll be Terry Labonte coming into the pit area and being replaced by Brett Bodine. Let's go down to Jerry Punch.
Well, Brett Bodine, who has 2 Busch Grand National Series wins here at Bristol, will get his shot at his first Winston Cup victory today, as Terry Labonte will be bringing that Junior Johnson Chevrolet down pit road.
Here he comes, Jerry.
Labonte coming down pit road right now, headed for pit lane, and Tim Brewer and the rest of the crew will help him get out of the car. He will move to the front of the car. They have it all orchestrated. Bodine will jump in the car. Now the car comes to a halt. Here's Terry Labonte. The strap's being released. Labonte climbing from the car. Gets an assist from Mike Hill. We'll get over and try to get a comment from Terry Labonte if we can. Terry's getting his helmet unhooked. They're trying to get Brett Bodine hooked up. Terry, how's the shoulder?
I'm sorry?
How is the shoulder, Terry?
Well, it's really a lot better. I really think I could run some this week, but, you know, we didn't want to take a chance of being in an accident or something and getting hurt again.
You will be back at Martinsville in a couple of weeks?
Yeah, I'll be ready for Martinsville.
Well, Terry Labonte out of the car today, Brett Bodine in. They head back on the speedway.
He is pulling out of pit road now onto the racetrack. The field is being led by the pace car off of corner number 4. And next time around, we will be getting the green flag and 500 laps of racing on this 1/2 mile racetrack.
Bob, it's been some time since Harry Gant has been able to run consistently up front. He must have that heart pounding right now, because he must feel psychologically like this may be one of his better days, at least for the last 18 months. Rusty Wallace on the outside pole. He had a good run going for him yesterday in the Busch Grand National race, and he is the defending winner of this race, and it's a racetrack he enjoys.
All right, Harry Gant's on the pole, and Dale Earnhardt is right behind him. Rusty Wallace has been running well. Who's going to lead the first few laps, Larry?
I think that they're all going to be just a little tentative about this racetrack. It was very wet this morning. I expect Harry Gant to take the lead.
We are not going green. We'll have at least one more lap, and the reason we're not going green is because some fan, and I hesitate to use that word, has thrown a beer can onto the racetrack.
Over-exuberant. You know, Bob, another point I think we ought to make, and we made this last week, it's interesting how this has played into the hands of Terry Labonte and Junior Johnson. This race is now being delayed for that driver switch. Something obviously has happened that was under nobody's control who's conducting this race that has delayed it. Jeff did get out, make that Brett did get out in time, by the way, to catch up to the back of the pack.
Another outstanding qualifying performance by this man, Greenfield, Wisconsin's Alan Kulwicki in the Xerox Ford.
His best 1987 finish matches his best career finish of 4th at North Wilkesboro. Remember, he also had a race on a super speedway a year ago when he finished on the lead lap. Alan has been strong all weekend. The qualifying run was not just a one-time shot only.
Now, this time we could get the green flag. No, we'll go at least one more lap before they turn them loose. Harold Kinder, the official starter for the Winston Cup Series, is signaling one more lap. Here's an interesting row, side by side. Bill Elliott, who has already won this year on the Winston Cup Trail at Daytona, and a man who is pretty much struggling in the early going here with the new team, Darrell Waltrip.
Bob, yesterday in practice, I was just doing some unofficial timing on a handheld stopwatch as we take a look at Bill Elliott. I believe that Elliott was one of the 3 fastest cars in the field during practice. I think he will move toward the front.
We're at Bristol International Raceway in Tennessee, and we are about to go green for the Valleydale 500. 500 laps. We saw a couple of very serious, at least appearing crashes yesterday in the Grand National race. Let's hope we don't have anything serious today, but it is a very demanding racetrack on car and driver. The pace car pulls off. Here comes the field. Harry Gant leads it down. The green flag drops. And Gant and Wallace go into the corner side by side, but Rusty zooms out in the lead from outside, starting the front row starting position. Rusty Wallace, last year's winner, is going to lead lap number 1. Not surprising, it is Dale Earnhardt who has fallen into 3rd behind Gant and Wallace. In 4th position, it's Jeff Bodine. 5th is Alan Kulwicki. Then it is Bobby Allison with Morgan Shepherd and Kent Schrader. Now Benny Parsons.
Bobby Allison got up out of the best groove, at least in the early laps here at Bristol, and the train has passes them by. Well, in terms of the first leader, I'm 0 for 1, but I will say, I've been telling people, if anybody has a chance of dethroning Dale Earnhardt this weekend, I've told everybody it might be Wallace.
Rusty Wallace showed a lot of confidence last year at this time before he won, and he was showing the same amount of confidence when I talked with him in the pit area this weekend. He thinks he can win this race. We're watching right now Bobby Allison along with Bill Elliott and Ricky Rudd.
Never lose sight of the fact as we look at Bill Elliott trying to find a way around Bobby Allison. Ricky Rudd looking to the high side of Bill. This is a half-mile racetrack. It's high bank, 30 to 35 degrees in the corners, and it is perhaps the most treacherous track on the Winston Cup Trail. Some people will tell you, well, it's Dover. Others will say it's Darlington. But for my money, a high bank half-mile, the most dramatic configuration any racetrack can be in.
We're watching 9th, 10th, and 11th. That's Bobby Allison, Bill Elliott, and Ricky Rudd. We go back up front, and we can see that Harry Gant has closed in on the leader, Rusty Wallace. Rusty took over that top spot at the drop of the green flag, moving from outside row number 1. And he has held it now for the first 7 laps as Dale Earnhardt continues to run 3rd. But now we're going to see if Harry Gant is in a position to make a move. They approach the slower car of Ronnie Thomas, number 41. All the leaders get by him safely. And Wallace opens up just a little bit of daylight between himself and Harry Gant.
Jeff Bodine is turning in a good run. You see him on the far right-hand side of your screen right there, trailing that man, Dale Earnhardt. Bodine didn't qualify as strong as he is accustomed to doing, particularly on a track shaped like Bristol, but they have towed their horns in just a little bit this year. They're trying to win races instead of sitting on so many poles. They were a little disappointed with this weekend's qualifying performance, but there you see him, Jeff in the Levi Garrett machine, right in it here in the early laps.
Well, brother Jeff Bodine is running in 4th position at the moment. We'll update you on the progress of Brett Bodine, who, remember, must fall into the tail of the field since he replaced Terry Labonte. He has moved up 5 positions. There he is. He's now running 25th after starting in 30th spot.
Being very cautious also, Bob, which is a pretty heck of a good idea on a racetrack like this. You mentioned we saw yesterday how rapidly things can happen. There goes Brett to the high side of Slick Johnson in Roger Hamby's machine, and they're trailing right now Eddie Birchwall in Buddy Arrington's number 67 car.
Brett Bodine. Oh, and Harry almost loses it coming out of the 4th turn. The rear end getting way around on that car. He loses 2 positions, possibly 3, as Earnhardt and Jeff Bodine both pass Harry Gant, but now he's back in the groove and on the throttle. Here's a replay of it. It had happened in turn number 4, actually in between turns 3 and 4. Gant with the rear end may have been bumped by Earnhardt.
Touched by Dale. Harry went into turn number 3 and either touched the brakes just a little harder than what Dale anticipated, or didn't jump back on the throttle soon enough, and he got help.
So he lost 2 positions, but he's back now at full speed and maintaining that 4th position. Here is Rusty Wallace continuing to lap slower traffic out there as he has now approached the J.D. McDuffie car, number 70, down the backstretch. He passes him and also passes Jimmy Means for a 2nd time. The leader now in clear sailing, while everybody else behind him, including Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Bodine, Harry Gant and Alan Kowicki are moving into traffic, but at this point, no yellow flags, and everything is moving smoothly in the Valleydale 500 with Rusty Wallace leading. 500 Winston Cup race at Bristol. Here are the top 5 at the conclusion of 16 laps. It's Rusty Wallace leading, Dale Earnhardt second, Jeff Bodine runs third, followed by Harry Gant and Alan Kowicki. Well, let's go down to the pit area and Jerry Punch, who's been watching the Rusty Wallace run.
Well, Bob, this car that Rusty Wallace is driving here has been nicknamed Samson by the crew because of its unbelievable strength on the short track. It's the same car they won with here last year, the same car they won with at Martinsville. It is the oldest car racing in Winston Cup competition, according to Banjo Matthews. It was the very first downsized car to be built when NASCAR went from 115-inch wheelbase down to 110 inches in 1981. It was driven then by David Griffin. It has been wheeled by Tim Richmond for a few years, and now Rusty Wallace. One of the oldest cars, but still one of the best.
Jerry, he's maintaining the lead, but he has his hands full with Dale Earnhardt, who is now right on his back bumper, and a move being made here by Ricky Rudd, passing Bobby Allison, as Allison isn't showing a whole lot of strength here in the early going of this event. He started the race in 6th spot, but has now dropped back to, we believe, 10th position.
Very few people have made any moves. As a matter of fact, most of the top 10 people are still running there. There's been some shuffling going on, but Rusty Wallace and Earnhardt have shown their back fenders to everybody, but very few people have moved up.
Bill Elliott and Ricky Rudd now passing the number 64 car driven by Jerry Cranmer. And Bill Elliott is now in 9th and Ricky Rudd in 10th position. Bobby Allison drops back to 11th.
Bill Elliott, of course, in the machine that is now being quite ably assisted in construction by Ivan Baldwin. There's Bobby Allison. Bob mentioned to you that he has dropped back. There is Neil Bonnet, number 3 in the points this year. They've had a strong year. Neil Bonnet, at least in the early part of the season, has enjoyed more success with the Butch Mock Bob Rahilly team than he did a year ago with Junior Johnson.
The leaders, meanwhile, are beginning to thread their way through the traffic as we look at 12th running Darrell Waltrip. Here they are, Wallace and Dale Earnhardt, both using the high groove to pass some of that slower traffic out there. 27 laps are in the book. Coming down this time, it'll be lap number 28. Larry, is there a thought in these drivers' minds of this race not going the entire 500 laps? The skies look halfway decent at this point, but are they thinking possibly that they're not going to be able to complete all of this race?
I think it's a thought in the back of their minds, but at this point, you have to discard that thought and plan on a 500-lap race. But perhaps a little more than usual, they're paying attention to the Weather Bureau, because the reports that we were getting from the airport this morning were that we would not be able to go 500 laps, but it has cleared up considerably. So, yeah, it's a thought in the back of the mind, but not until about the 200-lap point will they get really serious, maybe every 5 minutes checking the weather.
Colonel Wax car driven by being passed, and now we have a side-by-side battle as Bill Elliott and Ken Schrader were side-by-side for just a moment, but Elliott takes the spot.
There's Ken Schrader, pole setter once already this season. They're running in 7th and 8th. Elliott now will see if he's got more muscle than Kenny Schrader. Will he pull away? Yes. He has opened up those 3 or 4 car lengths in only about 3/4 of a lap, and you can see him streaking away. So Bill Elliott has taken his time and finally broke from the pack. Remember, he was very impressive in practice yesterday. Not only was he among the 3 fastest, but he was consistent.
We have Fords running together on the racetrack in 7th, 8th, and 9th.
Oh, Schrader really
way
loses
up
the
high.
handle, yeah. Kenny Schrader loses 2, now 3 positions, and Schrader is off of it. Kenny Schrader looks like he's going to be coming in shortly. Kenny's still up in the racing lane now. Finally, he ducks down. Kenny Schrader with a problem in the early going.
Schrader headed toward pit road. Remember, this pit lane is slick, and he didn't make a pit stop after all, as at the last moment, he made a right turn and went back out onto the racetrack. I think, Larry, he was going a little too quickly and hit some water down there and started to slide, and maybe thought that he wouldn't be able to slow the car down properly, or maybe he just made another decision. At any rate, we'll see if he comes into the pit area now. He's down in the lower groove in turns 3 and 4, and yes, he will make a pit stop. Ken Schrader from Fenton, Missouri, winner of a qualifying race at Daytona this year, is on pit road here at Bristol.
Pit road is very slick. Kenny is rolling in about 30 miles an hour, and he's still breaking loose when he hits the brakes. Now they're going to the right right side. Apparently, he thinks it was a tire problem, as they're not checking under the hood, not checking any of the suspension or any of the driveline parts, just a tire.
Now look at the leaders side by side, and Earnhardt almost gets the sideways on the backstretch, but Rusty Wallace doing a great job of holding off that Earnhardt move. Now they're lapping Brett Bodine in car number 11 and the number 18 car of Dale Jarrett. Look at the close competition out there on the backstretch into turn number 3. Really, Earnhardt now moving to the high side of Bodine.
Really risky stuff at this racetrack in the first 100 laps, because just the slightest little miscue, like on a super speedway, when you're going 200 miles an hour, just a touch. There you can see in the 64 car of Jerry Cranmer, he's had something break in the front, in the left front.
Indeed he has. That wheel is turned back in under the car, and the yellow flag comes out. The race to the yellow is won by Rusty Wallace. Second is Dale Earnhardt, and Brett Bodine tried gallantly to keep from losing a lap, but didn't, and so he goes a lap down. Jeff Bodine is going to be showed in third position. In fourth is going to be the number 26 car of Morgan Shepherd, and then Harry Gant. Here is Cranmer pulling into the pit area, and he sustained some damage on that left front.
Yeah, the suspension just went away. It did not look like the tire burst. It looked like definitely a suspension problem, and that slide as he came into the pits. All the leaders, by the way, are pitting underneath this yellow flag. It's because the pits are so wet.
There is Rusty Wallace's pit stop. Let's go to Jerry.
Rusty Wallace brings his Pontiac down pit road. They will make a right side rubber change on the car. Some blue on the left side tires. Apparently Wallace getting a little rubbing in with some of the other cars out there. Looks like Wrangler blue, possibly from the Earnhardt machine. They will make a 4-tire change on the Rusty Wallace car, as will most of the drivers under this first caution flag of the day.
We might mention that there are pits here on the front stretch, and there are pits on the back stretch. There were 18 slots here on the main straightaway and 12 in the backstretch. Jeff Bodine has won the race out of the pit. I think perhaps that Morgan Shepherd, if he pitted, and Neil Bonnet also got out quickly. Phil Parsons had some problems on this stop.
You can see Jimmy Means coming in the green car. This is the backstretch pits, and there is Phil Parsons getting into the water, spinning right there. The Jimmy Means crew watching what's going on. A lot of calmness there. They've seen that scene before. They understood that Phil had it under control, and he had scrubbed off a great deal of speed.
Just gives you an idea of exactly how slick the pits are in the backstretch. Well, the number 71 car, driven by Dave Marcus, is unofficially being shown as the leader right now. Pit stops have just been... Afternoon of racing here on ESPN. Following our live telecast of the Valleydale Meets 500 from Bristol International Raceway, we will have the first race of the 1987 Formula One season. That, of course, is at Rio de Janeiro in Brazil. That's at approximately 4 o'clock this afternoon. Here's Dr. Jerry Punch.
The unscheduled pit stop for Kenny Schrader, a flat right rear tire. You see the tire had a hole in it, went down, and as the tire went down, it pulled the rubber off the tire. No defect in the tire at all, simply a flat tire, but a costly pit stop for Kenny Schrader.
All right, the 71 car of Dave Marcus is the leader of this race. He did not make a pit stop. Among those who did make a pit stop, the leader is Morgan Shepherd, followed by Neil Bonnet, then Dale Earnhardt, Jeff Bodine, and Rusty Wallace. The green flag comes out once again, and Brett Bodine is trying to maintain his status where he is leading this pack in hopes of getting his lap back should a caution flag fly again. There are 18 cars on the lead lap. Make that 19 cars now, as Brett has, for the moment at least, gained his lap back. The leader is right there, the number 71 car of Dave Marcus. Dave, of course, from Wausau, Wisconsin, making his home now in Avery Street, North Carolina. He did not make a pit stop, though, during that caution period. The battle in back of him is for second position. That involves the green car, the Quaker State car driven by Morgan Shepherd, and the Valvoline car driven by Neil Bonnet. And there also is Dale Earnhardt and Jeff Bodine.
Morgan Shepherd is fresh off a win in the Busch Grand National Series on this track yesterday. Morgan is just not able to keep his car down in the bottom, as that man in the yellow and blue Wrangler machine right there, Dale Earnhardt is. Dale Earnhardt is moving back to where he has run all year long, up to the front.
Boy, Larry, you just got to think that the key element of the race at this point is patience. There's Rusty Wallace hanging back there behind Earnhardt and Jeff Bodine. He had a very fast car early in the race, probably has one now, but I think in Rusty's mind, he's just waiting to see what happens in front of him.
To remain competitive all race long, you're absolutely right, Bob. And we saw so many vivid examples yesterday of impatience, being impetuous. We just don't have any inches to spare. That was a reasonably close call. If we're looking at Kenny Schrader right now back up front with Earnhardt moving up. It was a reasonably close call when Earnhardt touched Terry Gant. Now, they both handled it well, but you just can't reinforce how quickly things happen here.
Dale Earnhardt goes back into second place, at least for the moment. Now he has it by about a half a car length, but Morgan Shepherd is giving him a good battle on the high side of the racetrack. 51 laps have been completed out of 500. It's Morgan Shepherd and Dale Earnhardt racing side by side into turn number 2. Dale forces Morgan just a little bit high and gets underneath him and takes that spot.
Bob, what he did, he had gone to school. Now Jeff Bodine is doing the same thing. Both of them have seen that Morgan just can't stay down to the middle lane. See, they drive up underneath him knowing that Morgan by himself is going to wash up when he gets to the banking, and both of them watched what was happening, just followed suit.
That may indicate a pushing problem on the Morgan Shepherd car. When you see a car go into a corner on the stripe or on the low groove, and then it washes out, goes up high, and comes back down, that's an indication the car is pushing, and that certainly appears to be the situation with Morgan Shepherd. Now Earnhardt is going to make a bid for the lead. At least he appeared to be in a position to do so, as Dave Marcus continues to lead this event, holding off for the moment Dale Earnhardt's challenge, but Earnhardt sneaks right up on the back bumper. They race down the backstretch.
Keep these two people in perspective. They are the leaders of the race. Marcus did not pit, however. He's racking up some leading laps. He's got his 5 bonus points. Brett Bodine there in the red and white Budmobile is a distance of the racetrack behind. He is at least temporarily on the lead lap. Junior Johnson, Tim Brewer, Jeff Hammond and crew pulled off a great pit stop during that yellow flag and allowed him to get his lap back. But now he has got to try and stem the rising tide, which is that Wrangler machine.
Dave Marcus, the leader, the last time he won a race was here on ESPN, and it was in a rain situation at Richmond, Virginia. He has the lead, and Earnhardt having difficulty passing. Now he moves high in turns 3 and 4, but still can't pull off the pass. The caution flag is out.
Oh, great break for Bodine. Bodine has done it.
There is no accident. I cannot explain the reason for the yellow at the moment, but Brett Bodine has made up his lap.
And Marcus, I guess Marcus thinks he is a lap down, Bob, because Marcus is moving around in the pack. And
oh, they're black flagging Dave Marcus. Why are they doing that, I wonder? Maybe some fluid spotted?
My guess is maybe they felt that he did not heed the caution flag. Now, I'm just speculating right now, but I'm thinking that Marcus probably felt he was a lap behind. And so he saw the yellow come out and said, well, I'll go around the racetrack, get on the tail of the lead lap, and try and get on that lead lap again. The caution coming out on lap 58. So then they black flagged him because they felt he wasn't heeding the yellow.
There is Ken Schrader making another pit stop. Morgan Shepherd makes another visit to his pit area. Now moving back out on the track. There he goes behind Ken Schrader. Again, they're making a tire change on that red Baron Ford. And the actual reason for the caution period is for metal, a piece of debris on the backstretch. And there is Dave Marcus into the pits. He is one of the cars that is pitted on the backstretch. Safety crews are going to have to go out onto the racetrack as Ken Schrader pulls out.
Might add that apparently with all the bad weather has disrupted all of our radio communications around the racetrack, including that which we have normally between NASCAR and our ESPN broadcast. And that's the reason why we're not getting any instantaneous reports in a situation like the Marcus. So far, it's only speculation.
Here is Brett Bodine coming in. Remember, he made up his lap on this caution. Here's Jerry.
Well, Brett Bodine will bring that car in. They are extremely pleased with this young driver so far here in the Junior Johnson pit. A heck of a job to keep that car from going a lap down. They will make their routine caution flag pit stop for Brett Bodine. Looks like they will get 2 tires. Now they're going to make it a 4-tire change. They bring the jack around and will change the tires all the way around. I'd like to comment a little bit on the Bill Elliott car. Ivan Baldwin, the crew chief, or not a crew chief, but they brought him from California to help him on the short track this year, tells me that Elliott said that he was passing a slower car during the early laps of the race. A slower car slid up in front of him, and now part of the front end of that Coors Ford is gone. Part of the front end, the right front of the grill on the Coors Ford is missing. Elliott says the car, it'll handle okay on the short track.
The speculation on the Dave Marcus situation was absolutely right, by the way, from NASCAR.
Smoking tires here at Bristol, indicating the level of competition. We'll go back to green in one more lap. In the meantime, we'll give you the top 10 at this point with 62 laps completed. Dale Earnhardt's the leader. Jeff Bodine running second. Rusty Wallace is third, followed by Neil Bonnet and Bill Elliott. The second 5, 6 through 10, Darrell Waltrip in 6th, followed by Richard Petty, Ricky Rudd. Harry Gant, the pole sitter, is dropped back to 9th spot, and Kyle Petty, who was second last week, runs 10th.
All those people remain on the lead lap and followed more or less in this order by Kowicki, still in the lead lap, Benny Parsons, Sterling Marlin in the Piedmont Olds 44. Bill Parsons did hold on to his lead lap status despite that spin in the pits. Bobby Hillin Jr., Dave Marcus relegated to the back of the pack without being penalized 1 lap, and Brett Bodine and Morgan Shepherd.
We were set to go green, but once again a beer can has been thrown onto the racetrack, and so we will go 1 more lap before.
Somebody has a problem.
Yeah, they really do. That is
it's most unfortunate.
Really ridiculous.
It's also likely, and normally in these situations you discover it's also one individual who's making a career out of inebriation today, and you need to pin him down.
Bobby Allison lost a lap in the pits. He was caught back there. And we also will update you on the Dave Marcus situation. He was penalized for not slowing down under the caution, and he is at the back of the pack, although he is still on the lead lap. And here comes the field now out of the 4th corner once again on lap number 64. We will go back to green with Dale Earnhardt, the leader. Allison moving up between Earnhardt and Jeff Bodine, but Allison is a lap down, having been caught in the pit area this most recent caution period. It is Rusty Wallace running in 3rd, followed by Neil Bonnet, and then Bill Elliott and Darrell Waltrip and Richard Petty.
They get around this track, Bob, in just 16.5 seconds. You say the average speed is only 115 miles an hour. Believe me, I was timing them yesterday. They are in the corners 10 seconds out of the 17. It's a scary place.
For a couple of laps, we'll just let the action carry it for you as we watch the racing here at Bristol. Ricky Rudd looked like they touched going into the 1st corner. That is the battle for 8th position, and now Kyle Petty in car number 21 sneaks to the inside of Harry Gant.
Earnhardt up front has gone high, and you can see Bobby Allison has gotten his lap back, and Jeff Bodine has moved into the front.
Well, this may indicate a problem for Earnhardt as he is way high again in turn number 2, losing another position.
Appears to be a tire problem. Speculation, and Earnhardt,
he's coming in.
Given all indications he's going to pit. Dale Earnhardt. Boy, what an unusual sight. In 1987,
he's out of control. It looks like
Earnhardt is pitting, and he's sliding to the pit lane. It's very wet down there. Heads up, guys, and Dale Earnhardt gets it stopped. Jerry is there.
Under green, Earnhardt, a problem, possibly a tire problem. We don't know. They're changing the right side tire, and apparently looks like maybe the right rear tire may have been going down as they roll one off the car. Down and away, 14 seconds flat. 11.1 in the pit, 14 coming down pit road.
Well, it was enough to put him a lap down, so Earnhardt goes 1 lap to the rears, and look at this. It is Harry Gant and Darrell Waltrip now side by side in turn 4.
Harry, I'm sure, is running inspired. He says, hey, guys, I took and painted off that bullseye. You guys are driving like it's still on there. I'm one of the fast guys this week. Move over. I'm coming through.
Now Kyle Petty moving to the inside of Darrell Waltrip. Petty in that number 21 Wood Brothers Ford. By the way, this is the only racetrack that the Winston Cup competitors still compete on that the Wood Brothers have not registered a victory.
Trouble in turn 3.
Oh, Bobby Allison
Jeff
spins.
Bodine.
So does Jeff Bodine. The leader has spun, and Bobby Allison is in the infield. lap 75. The caution is going to come out because of wall contact up in turn number 3 by Bobby Allison. Now, Jeff Bodine also spun, but he did not touch anything. Obviously, though, is going to have to come to the pits to change those spot-flatted tires.
Well, let's see what it looked like. Bodine was trying to put a lap on Bobby Allison. He appears to have the line going in, and Bobby Allison moved down. Racing accident? Probably. Couple of veteran race drivers, but my opinion, Bodine had the line going in.
All right, so Rusty Wallace, the leader, is going to come in now, and most of the others leaders do. However, Bill Elliott stays out on the racetrack. Let's go to Jerry for a call of this pit stop.
Well, Jeff Bodine brings his car in. Don't appear to see any sheet metal damage. The car coming to a halt. Gary Nelson and the crew will change the right side tires. I would expect they will change 4 tires, as most of the crews will under this caution flag. So Bodine apparently spinning the car in turn 4. They will come around and change now left side tires. Bobby Allison's car just behind Bodine. Bobby Allison's car being pitted does have significant sheet metal damage to the left front of the car. Allison's Buick having heavy contact up in turns 3 and 4. They are trying to pull that sheet metal away. Now both those cars off the jack and head back down pit road.
And here comes Sterling Marlin also out of the pits, and not too far behind Marlin will be Alan Kulwicki. Well, let's take a look at it once again. The incident in turns 3 and 4 as Bodine went to the inside of lapped Bobby Allison.
The vision here is not like it is on any other racetrack. You're on the straightaway 3 seconds. You go down into turn number 3, and all of a sudden you see a black wall. You've got a lot to do up ahead of you. You've got to pay a great deal of attention to it as you're entering that turn, and sometimes that causes strange variations in both drivers' styles.
Well, you can see the sheet metal damage on the left side of that car to Bobby Allison. He has damage on the front and the rear of that race car. So Bobby Allison having a tough time here in the early going of the Valleydale Meets 500 from Bristol International Raceway. We'll at Bristol International Raceway for the Valleydale Meets 500 Winston Cup race. There's a lot of commotion back on the backstretch in the ambulances over there. We will try to get you a report on what's going on. Could be an injury by a pit crew member on the backstretch pits. Meanwhile, Bobby Allison has pulled his car behind the wall. There is just too much damage to get it repaired in a hurry. So Dr. Jerry Punch, we can see with Bobby. Let's see if we can get some comments. Jerry?
Bobby, a rough day and a short day. What happened out there, Bobby?
I just got spun out.
That's the car pretty heavily damaged. You're going to be able to get it fixed at all?
They're going to work on it.
Okay, Bobby Allison, a 4-time winner here at Bristol, has a short day. He's going to climb out. As you can see, tremendous damage on the car. They're going to try to get it repaired. Bobby will hang close, hopefully, to go back in the Valleydale 500.
Well, Bobby Allison was also knocked out of Darlington because of an accident. His best finish this year, a 6th at the Daytona 500. Well, when you have a short track, especially the one like Bristol, there's a lot of safety precautions needed. Here's an ESPN NASCAR track fact.
Winston Cup stock cars, nothing new. They've been around for a couple of years. Their purpose to keep the driver's arms and helmet inside the car during a flip or roll on a racetrack. What is new is one safety feature that has been standardized this year by NASCAR. The simple seatbelt clip on the window netting. In the old days, they had a spring-loaded rod or something even tied the window netting in place. Very difficult for safety crews to get to the driver. Now, everyone has the same clamp. Seatbelt clamp here, slides into position, clamps into place. When a driver is injured, safety crew comes to the car. They will reach in, clip the seatbelt loose, lay it down, and have access to the driver.
We should go green this time around. Now, here are the standings. The number 9 car, Bill Elliott, is your leader. And to show you how quickly things can change around, Brett Bodine, remember, just a few laps ago was a lap down, but now he's second. Morgan Shepherd is third, followed by Dave Marcus and Neil Bonnet.
Button down the hatches. Earnhardt is going to be looking to run up front, get his lead back. He is going to be charging.
Now, although Dale Earnhardt is a lap down because of some tire problems, he keeps his streak alive, his one streak that he has established so far this year, and that is leading every race. He did lead the early stages of this one, and so that string is alive. He's to the inside of Ken Schrader as they come down the straightaway. Earnhardt wants to pass Brett Bodine and Bill Elliott and grab that lap back.
Now look real carefully on the nose of the number 3 car. You're likely to see a foot coming out of the grill. That's Earnhardt standing on it.
Number 75 and 27 are racing side by side. That, of course, is Rusty Wallace, who led the first few laps of this race, and Neil Bonnet. Right ahead of them is the number 21 car of Kyle Petty, and behind Rusty is Richard Petty in 43. The yellow is out once again. Earnhardt did not make up the lap, at least on this exchange. I would presume that it once again is for debris on the racetrack, because there are no incidents that we can spot.
See some fingers being pointed down in the direction of the number 1 corner.
Well, if this is another beer can, people are going to have to start.
There does seem to be a great deal of debris.
I don't think it is a beer can. It's just maybe some debris off of a race car, but I'm sure that's the reason.
Comment about this facility. It is one of the absolute finest to watch a race. If you see the stands there on the left-hand side, you're down inside of an amphitheater. The track is high banked anyway, and wherever you sit, you can see every single square inch of the speedway. It is a terrific place to watch from.
Owner of the track, Larry Carrier, has put a lot of money back into it. We thank him and Denny Darnell and his staff here at Bristol. Just gone back to the green flag, and look who is leading the parade of cars. It's Dale Earnhardt. The green coming out on lap number 68, but Earnhardt is not in the lead. He has, however, gained his lap back as Bill Elliott continues to hang on to that top spot. Elliott's short track program has improved greatly from years past. Dave Marcus and Morgan Shepherd side by side and door handle to door handle into turn number 4. Real close. And look at Kyle Petty in the Citgo Ford right there behind.
We are not yet 100 laps into this 500-lap race. Morgan Shepherd is still wrestling with the grizzly bear, trying to keep up the RPM as best as he can up there along the wall. Now, Morgan does like to run up there. His car looks like, oh, and Morgan's very close. You could not put a dime between him and the outside wall. He does like to run up there, but I think the car is pushing just a little more than even he would prefer. Morgan Shepherd holding on to the top 5, but it's a struggle.
Well, you got to be impressed with Dave Marcus, though, Larry. He qualified 17th, not particularly fast, but he led portions of this race. And if it weren't for the penalty that they assessed him because he failed to heed the yellow, according to the NASCAR officials, he would be right up there in a battle for the lead. As it is, he's in 4th.
Well, 2 things. Being a veteran is such an advantage on this racetrack. This track tries to rip the steering wheel out from your hand every lap. And the veterans know those tiny, subtle little tricks to hold onto the steering wheel. Plus, he hasn't been pitting as often as everybody else.
That's the Lifeboy Chevrolet owned by Helen Ray. And again, we're seeing some cars loose. That's tire smoke coming off the right rear of the Marcus Chevy. Right behind Marcus is Kyle Petty, and then Rusty Wallace, and then the number 43 car of Richard Petty. There he is, moving to the high side of Rusty Wallace.
Morgan is really abusing his right rear. There he is in the big green breaker tape machine. Way up there, getting up towards the outer rail. Several people behind him, most notably Kyle Petty and Rusty Wallace, are looking for a way to get through.
From what appears to be a serious handling problem on behalf of Morgan Shepherd, that car washes toward the outside wall just about every lap. He is doing a great job here.
Yeah, Bob, it probably would be a more serious problem to somebody who doesn't like to run up there normally. But when Morgan's feeling really good and the car is racing, that's one of the lanes that he's comfortable with. But it's a little exaggerated today. Maybe it's coming in. That was a much better turn. It was his best turn in the last 5 or 6. But you can see he is holding everybody else up. At least visually it appears that way at this point.
And we have a side-by-side battle once again. This is for 3rd position as Morgan Shepherd holds onto it, but Dave Marcus and Kyle Petty are right there. 3rd, 4th, and 5th.
Just updating you as this is going on. Earnhardt is high, wide, handsome out front. He's not doing anything spectacular. Just trying to catch up with the pack. He's got a long ways to go, but if we get a yellow and these guys go to fixing racing like they're doing like this, you never know when the next yellow might pop up, and Earnhardt is back to the 6th position. Touching turn number 3. Marcus touches the left rear Morgan Shepherd. That's going to be enough to put him out of shape, and Marcus moves underneath. Kyle Petty is the next one to try and creep through the open door, and Rusty Wallace is lying in wait.
We have completed 15 laps since we went green from the caution. When we went green, Earnhardt passed Bill Elliott and got his lap back, and now Earnhardt is about a half a straightaway ahead of Bill Elliott. So without question, at least in my mind, Earnhardt with the fastest car on the racetrack if he can just make up the laps.
Well, with 100 laps now down to 500, Bill would probably do best to park and ride, as I like to say, as would Dale. It's unlikely that Dale can race all the way around, or that he would have to race all the way around and catch up to the lead pack, because everybody's got to pit one more time, and on this racetrack, it's going to be one more yellow. So if I were Dale, of course, this is not his style, but he would get out to about a quarter of a lap lead in everybody and just wait out the next caution.
The pace being set by the leader, Bill Elliott, is right around 110 miles an hour. Contact between Richard Petty and Harry Gant, but both drivers hang on. Nice job by Richard saving the car in turn 4.
Now, I know there is not a red bullseye in that car. The car is green and white. What's going on?
Bill Elliott is your leader. Brett Bodine is second. Dave Marcus is third. Here's a replay of just a lap ago when there was contact between Gant sneaking there on the left side, the right side of your screen, and Richard Petty.
Richard seemed to be minding his own business that time. We didn't have the absolute angle to tell what was going on, but it did appear as though that Harry might have moved up to him. Now, this is Kenny Schrader racing to get a lap back. Kenny Schrader could get one of the two he lost when he had to pit under green.
And he goes down the backstretch and does pass Bill Elliott. For the moment, at least, Ken Schrader has made up his lost lap. Well, we've completed just about 1/5 of this race. 100 laps out of 500. That will make up the Valleydale Meets 500. And our race summary shows that at the 100 lap mark, Bill Elliott was the leader by about a half second over Brett Bodine. His average speed 79.55 miles an hour. We have had 4 lead changes among 4 different drivers. There's your leader, Bill Elliott from Dawsonville, Georgia. And now the yellow flag recap to this point. We have had a total of 4 caution periods, but you can see they have been for, by and large, debris on the racetrack or a mechanical problem. There was a spin involving Jeff Bodine and Bobby Allison in turn number 3 on lap number 76. That's the only accident, however, that we have had. Jerry Cranmer and Bobby Allison have gone behind the wall and are at this point listed as out of the race. Here is a good battle between Richard Petty in car number 43 and Jeff Bodine in the Levi Garrett number 5. At the moment, it is Richard Petty running in 7th position and Jeff Bodine 8th. And ahead of them, it is Morgan Shepherd and Rusty Wallace going at it for position.
Things are running pretty calm right now. Nobody is in anywhere near jeopardy of being lapped. The leader of the race is Bill Elliott, as there's Dave Marcus and Kyle Petty, who have finally gotten around Morgan Shepherd, and they are looking toward Brett Bodine, who continues to truck in Junior Johnson, number 11. Remember, he lost that lap early in the race, and right behind him, there's Richard Petty moving up, and Jeff Bodine looking for a place to run and hide.
Boy, it almost looks like a super speedway choo-choo train out there as they fall in behind each other. Now Jeff Bodine moves to the inside of Richard Petty. In turn number 1, Richard, another driver who likes that high groove, the one for the outside wall. He says if you make contact with the wall up there, you travel less distance. Well, I suppose that's true.
Yeah, he had an experience from this year's Daytona, last year's Daytona 500, and he still feels that he'd have been hurt much worse, and he can run it down at the bottom.
Now Jeff Bodine's car washes out a little bit and gets up high on the racetrack. Morgan Shepherd, Rusty Wallace, Jeff Bodine, and Richard Petty. Good run by the Quaker State car of Morgan Shepherd, and that is another team that needs a good finish.
Morgan was solid in practice and qualifying. He started this race gridded 8th. Larry McReynolds and crew working very hard this weekend, as of course everybody has, but they've really been paying a lot of attention to what's going on trying to get themselves out of the tailspin. Jeff Bodine finds a little bit of momentum. He takes the centrifugal force around the high side of Rusty Wallace. Bodine is showing that he is one of the stronger cars in the second echelon that actually chases Bill Elliott, but I don't know that anybody is really chasing hard at this point. They're trying to establish themselves, pick up the rhythm of the race, and stay on the lead lap. There goes Bodine again. He's moving out.
Here is Marcus Petty and Bodine's car is obviously handling well. He can go anywhere on the racetrack and make the car work. They split the difference and go around Michael Waltrip, Bodine to the high side, and Rusty Wallace to the high side, and Morgan Shepherd on the low side gets squeezed by Mike Waltrip coming out of turn number 2, and then both Wallace and Shepherd have to fall in behind. Now they make the pass cleanly coming off 4. And unfortunately, Kenny Schrader is making another pit stop as we continue to watch the action on the track. Schrader had made up his lap, but he loses not only one, but possibly more. Is it tire problems again, Jerry?
Well, we think it may be a tire problem. Yes, it is. The right front tire this time. Last time it was the right rear tire. This time it's the right front tire that was going flat on Schrader's car. So now 2 unscheduled pit stops for Schrader.
A battle for second position developed there for a moment, but Jeff Bodine took over second from his brother Brett Bodine. They're running right ahead of Marcus and Petty here. There is Brett, and Jeff there on the straightaway already is now firmly entrenched in second position.
Well, on occasion, an unfortunate incident on the racetrack will inspire a driver, and that's exactly how Jeff Bodine is driving now. He had that incident with Bobby Allison. He fell back into the middle of the pack. He waited for everything to sort out. Then he went ahead and reasserted himself. He has asserted himself, running in second position. Difficult to tell right now whether or not he is faster than Bill Elliott on the track, but he is the only one who's doing any significant maneuvering right now, and I would say yes, he does appear to be moving in on Bill.
So Bodine is second. Meanwhile, the leader continues to be Bill Elliott. Approaching the number 52 car of Jimmy Means once again. On the top side in turns number 3 and 4, we'll get a lap time on Bill Elliott to see how fast he is going.
Keep in perspective, remember the pole-winning time for qualifying was 16.588. Obviously, that's not a pace that you can maintain during the race, but you can see how rapidly things happen at Bristol.
There it is, 17.7 seconds. Can you imagine traveling a half mile in that amount of time?
A half mile and making 2 180-degree turns.
108.406 miles an hour. That lap by Bill Elliott. Ronnie Thomas running right ahead of Bill Elliott now. Now Elliott passing him. Ronnie's got some sponsorship on that car this week. Bush Auto Polish. And we have a crash. It's Jimmy Means hitting the wall in turn number 2.
Jimmy had a crash in practice on Friday. This is the same car. They took it home Friday night and rebuilt it. At first he thought he was going to bring out another car, but he said, no, I've got that prepared for future races. This is fixable, so that's the second crash on this machine this weekend here at Bristol.
He stops at the end of the backstretch, just going into turn number 3. The yellow out on lap 131. We'll see it again.
Well, Bodine was close. Jeff Bodine. They're both Jeff and Jimmy. There goes Jimmy. Looked like a tire went down.
I think so. You can see smoke coming from the right side of that car, and it is our opinion that a tire went down on that Means machine, sending him into the wall. Here's Jerry.
Here's Bill Elliott in the pit, the leader. Now see that damage on the left front of the car? Elliott's car completely, some of the grill torn away. Jeff Bodine also in. Brett Bodine is in, just behind Bill Elliott. See those cars? They will make a 4-tire change. We are on the Bill Elliott car in the pit stop. See the paint on the left side of the left front tire as Dan Elliott now rips that tire off, replaces it with fresh rubber. Look at the front end of the car, completely torn away. Elliott's now off the jack. Pretty big pit stop under caution. Here's Benny Carson's car in the pit. Benny making a pit stop. All the leaders are in the pit, and Earnhardt also down on the way.
Well, among other things, there is Jimmy Means. He is out of the car, rather disgusted with what happened, but I don't think he has to blame himself. From all indications, he had a mechanical problem, probably a tire go down on that car that sent him into the wall. This yellow means several things. One thing it means is that Dale Earnhardt does get the lap back. And here is the King, Richard Petty, in the pits. They are fueling that car, and they are changing tires on it also.
Earnhardt pits for the second time. He'd already made up about 14 or 15 seconds on the track because everybody had to slow down for the yellow. But this is Dale's second pause for refreshment during this yellow flag. One comment about Jimmy Means, by the way. He is the latest $1 million club member in Winston Cup racing. One of the latest. He's crept over $1 million in late 1986, early 87.
They are getting his wrecked car off of the racetrack in the backstretch. We'll take a break and be right back for more of the Valleydale Meets 500. Back at the Winston Cup race here at Bristol, Tennessee, we have radio contact with Rusty Wallace. Rusty, you led the early laps, dropped back a little bit. Is the car working for you?
No, everything's just fine in the Kodiak Pontiac. The crew's doing an excellent job today. We're just kind of, I don't want to say we're biding our time. We're just kind of got stuck in traffic a little while ago. The car's a lot faster than what it appeared to be that last run. I just couldn't get out of that heavy traffic.
All right, now, Rusty, what's going through your mind? Are you concerned about the weather? Are you concerned about staying up in front? What's the strategy at this point?
The only thing I'm concerned about right now is how much champagne I've been drinking Victory Lane.
Well, we hope we can share some with you. Good luck the rest of the way. Thank you. All right, let's review our pit stop summary now.
Is that confidence or what?
As the yellow remains out here and 135 laps are completed. Bill Elliott was the leader when he went into the pits, and he came out in first. Jeff Bodine was second when he went in, comes out in second. Look at Dave Marcus, who went in third position, comes out in 13th. Brett Bodine maintains his fourth position status, and Neil Bonnet, who was 12th, or rather came in 12th, went out in third position.
And the one thing that's missing there, Bob, is that Earnhardt came in. He pitted twice. The first time he came out, he was in second position, and now he's back in about 12th or 13th because of a second stop.
Look at the crowd here at Bristol. Despite the inclement weather that we had early this morning, a huge crowd has turned out for this Winston Cup race. Uber and Dr. Jerry Punch back at Bristol International Raceway in Tennessee for the Valleydale Meets 500 Winston Cup race. There's the number 35 Folger-sponsored car owned by Hendrick, who is being piloted now by Benny Parsons, but it's the ride that Tim Richmond had last year. And Tim, right here at Darlington just a couple of weeks ago, as he began a testing program in hopes of returning to the Winston Cup Trail soon.
Humpy Wheeler standing there talking to Tim and exchanging pleasantries. There's Tim on the track running the number that Benny Parsons, of course, has been driving so far in the 1987 season. It is said there will be 2 Hendricks Folgers cars when Tim returns, probably for the Winston at Charlotte.
Well, of course, Tim has been out of commission because of a very serious medical problem, pneumonia, that he suffered earlier in the year, last year actually. We had an opportunity to talk with Tim Richmond at Darlington Raceway.
Well, it was the first experience I had anything to do with something that devastating. I saw the piece on TV with all the drivers they said about being scared in a race car from Atlanta. I don't know, it was on TV. Believe me, I have not been scared in a race car. I've been scared in a race car, but not nearly as scared as I was during the time that I was in the hospital at the worst points. I normally, I usually avoid treatment as much as possible as far as if there's something wrong, I'd rather forgo the treatment because I'm scared of the doctors and the dentist and everything else. Tremendously. And at that point, I was just begging for them to do anything they could to make it better, to make me feel better.
The comments from Tim Richmond. Now, not only is Dr. Jerry Punch an excellent pit reporter, but he's a licensed physician. And Dr. Punch, perhaps you can update us a little bit on pneumonia and what it can do. Can it cause permanent damage to you to the point that Tim will have a very difficult time regaining the status that he once had?
Well, pneumonia can cause a lot of problems, but I don't think it's going to create a permanent damage. The problem we're Tim Richmond. He was a tremendous athlete in high school, and then he went to Indy and was Rookie of the Year up there. He has a tremendous amount of athletic ability, and also he has what it takes here and up here to be a race car driver. Tim and I are good friends. I've seen him as both as a physician and as a friend. He was down to 148 pounds at one time back in December when he was fighting for his life in that hospital in the Cleveland Clinic. Now he's back over 170 pounds. He's hoping to make his way back to this competition. He'd like to win the Winston coming up in Charlotte in May, and I think he's got a heck of a shot at it.
So it's your opinion, Jerry, that he is medically ready and physically ready to return to racing?
Yeah, I think he definitely has a shot at getting back, and I think he is conditioning himself now to get back in the race car. I feel like he will come back and impress a lot of people, as he did last year, by getting 8 victories.
Gee, it's nice to have a medical physician on staff, isn't it?
Why can't you do that?
We are still under yellow because of the Jimmy Means accident out in the backstretch. They're continuing to clean up the racetrack. There are the top 5. We'll be right back. Back at Bristol. Now, here's the situation. We're under a lengthy caution period. When Jimmy Means made contact with the wall on the backstretch in turn number 2, he actually dislodged some concrete. There you can see it, him hitting the wall, and there was a lot of concrete that came loose from the wall and is strewn throughout the second turn and backstretch area. And so that is why we are under caution, and the track crews are still on the backstretch cleaning up the concrete that was knocked loose. There they are, picking up the small bits of concrete. Well, one thing about this racetrack, when you're in a corner as long as you are here and in 36 degrees of banking, you're looking at a black wall almost all the time of this racetrack. The vision straight ahead of you is very, very limited, according to Ken Schrader.
Vision here and at a place like North Wilkesboro.
Well, last week, like you could tell on our camera inside the car, that you could see way far ahead and you knew exactly what was going to happen, even in and around to the middle of the turn. Here, when you're in the middle of the turn, the cars are on such a bank and the radius is so tight, you're having to look out actually what would be the roof area of your car, and you can't see through that because that's metal there. So you kind of got to wait. When you're in the center of the turn, you just kind of got to pretend there's a crash coming off and be ready for it.
That crash yesterday involving Robbie Moroso and Max Prestwood, both of those drivers uninjured, but that was a spectacular crash. There is Ken Schrader on the racetrack, and he is still a lap down, actually 2 laps down, because of some tire problems that he has experienced. The sun is out. That's good news.
Another factor that doesn't get talked about all that much, and I know it's a factor at every race you go to. Looking at Ken Schrader there, the guy we just heard from, who's ranked 9th in the point standings, having a good year. You have to concentrate on every racetrack that you go to, but the concentration is a particularly difficult factor here because I mentioned earlier the racetrack is constantly trying to rip the machine away from you. On the big tracks, yeah, you might go 200 miles an hour, but you've got some time to relax. You set up down the straightaways. You're going smooth. Even the long corners, though they're banked 30, 35 degrees, you still got a smooth ride out of it unless somebody touches you. But here at Bristol, it's never smooth. It's never easy. It's a wrestling match all day long.
We have been under caution for 15 laps, and there is no indication at the moment that we're going back to green, so we'll take another break. Spectators are everywhere here at Bristol trying to gain a good vantage point. That particular bunch of people is just beyond the 3rd and 4th turn walls here. Well, in the lead is the Coors Melling Ford, driven by Bill Elliott. The last time a Ford won was in 1971 with David Pearson at this racetrack. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Bob, no one questions the success Bill Elliott's had on the super speedways. His Achilles heel has been the short tracks. Well, enter one Ivan Baldwin, a West Coast car builder, and Ivan's first venture last week at Wilkesboro. He built the car, Ivan. He built him a brand new race car. They took it to Wilkesboro and settled a pole with it.
Well, we didn't build it. We just kind of rebuilt it, built one that he had. And the car worked real well. I'm anxious to run it again at Martinsville because we've had a chance to go test it after that race.
You totally rearranged the setup here for this race. You totally rearranged the setup here, and the car's working awfully well.
This car here isn't the same car we ran at Wilkesboro. This is the car that we ran at Richmond, Virginia, which is a little bit heavier. We're sorting it out as the race goes on. The car was a little bit pushy, then it got loose because of the rain on the track. But Bill's just biding the time to try to outlast the race till the end, and then he'll see how fast they can go at the end.
Ivan Baldwin is given the title of assistant crew chief underneath Ernie Elliott. He won 9 short track championships in California, and he is going to put Bill Elliott in victory lane on a short track sometime early this year.
It could come today, as a matter of fact, as Elliott in the Coors Ford has the lead as we remain under the caution flag. And you know one other guy who's sort of associated with Ivan Baldwin, the chief mechanic, the crew chief on this car, the Levi Garrett Chevrolet. Gary Nelson got his start in as far as working on a crew when he was 14 years old.
Yeah, racing has been a part of Gary's life, needless to say, his whole life. And he was really one of the first Californians, and he's led a parade since, who has decided to come here to the Southeast and concentrate on Winston Cup stock car racing. And as those of you who follow the sport know, that people now flock to the Southeast to frequent this series because there's so many good things that are happening here. And the series is not just the Southeastern Series. Now they run in Pocono, they run in suburban Los Angeles, and they run here at Bristol, which they're going to do right now.
Green flag comes out on lap number 151. We were yellow for 20 laps because of some concrete in the racetrack caused by the incident and Jimmy Means hitting the concrete wall.
Let's watch Bodine. We felt he was the fastest before the yellow.
At the moment, Jeff Bodine has Ken Schrader between himself and the leader, Bill Elliott. We'll see how Bodine's car is working since we have gone back to a green flag.
As we watch the leaders, Earnhardt, by the way, is kind of in the middle of the pack, but trying to tiptoe through. He's right now about 12th in line in terms of the cars from front to back, but there are a couple of lap cars in there. No, I take that back. All the lap cars have dropped back, and Dale is running in 12th position right now, 11th position. He's moved up one since the green flag.
Running with Dave Marcus and pole sitter Harry Gant. Gant has not shown a whole lot of strength here in the first 154 laps. He was the pole sitter, but has never really been a challenger or a leader in this race.
Not since the early laps. He had that incident. A couple of people touched the car. He might have abused the right rear just a touch, although he's had a chance to change the tire. Earnhardt picks up a position, and Dave Marcus follows it through.
Yeah, he really is. He's showing some muscle out there. Dave Marcus running with Dale Earnhardt.
Now, for those of you at home that might have favorites, not necessarily in this order, as we continue to watch Earnhardt there in the number 3 car, Marcus in 71. It's Elliott, Schrader, Bodine. Neil Bonnet is 4th, Brett Bodine, then Rusty Wallace, Morgan Shepherd, Benny Parsons still in the lead lap, Kyle Petty, Ricky Rudd, and we got Earnhardt. There is Ricky Rudd, whom we just mentioned, and he is in a group of, he's on the tail of a group of 6 of them that are running 1 and 2 abreast, not occasion, almost 3 abreast, and there's 3 abreast.
Benny Parsons in the middle as Kyle went low, and Ricky Rudd put to the outside. Now they're 2 abreast. 3 rows of 2 abreast. Look at it. It's like the start of the race.
Ready to start another race. Brett Bodine trying to hold his line. The veteran Neil Bonnet on the high side. Bodine gets a nice surge off of number 3. Uses the banking to its optimum, and he leads this pack across the line this lap.
Morgan Shepherd dropping back here. He's losing positions. He's on the low groove. That car, you'll recall, was working better in the higher groove a few laps ago. Ricky Rudd passing him on the outside. Earnhardt is right behind, meanwhile, the Morgan Shepherd car, and Kyle Petty is right behind Dale Earnhardt.
It'll be interesting to watch Rusty Wallace's race unfold. You heard his comment during that last yellow flag. Hey, the car is faster than what I've been able to show the last couple of green flag segments. So we'll see how his race unfolds, particularly should Earnhardt move up alongside of him and start to head towards the front. Will Rusty follow?
Sitko and Valvoline here battling for position. Bonnet in the Valvoline car and Kyle Petty in the Sitko sponsor machine. And Quaker State is also involved here in the competition.
The Valleydale Meats 500, a local meatpacking company, very much behind this event. 500 laps to go is what that means. 162 down. Pole setter Harry Gant runs behind Benny Parsons, ahead of Sterling Marlin. Remember, the G is silent.
Marlin and Darrell Waltrip here together on the racetrack. They're running back in, let me see, 14th and 15th. Marlin is 14th and Waltrip 15th. That would put Harry Gant in 13th and Benny Parsons in 12th. Back to the leaders, meanwhile. It's still a Bill Elliott race to this point. Ken Schrader is still in between Elliott and Jeff Bodine running second. And boy, Schrader has just had all kinds of bad luck with tires today. But once he gets a good set on, he runs fast. That's what he's doing right now, as he's staying right up with the leader, Bill Elliott. 2 laps now. And the number 11 car and the 27 machine are side by side. Now Rusty Wallace grabs that spot rather easily, as a matter of fact, from Brent Bodine. And that puts Rusty Wallace third.
Maybe he's watching his mirrors. He has seen that Earnhardt has broken out from the pack, and Earnhardt will be trying to put the test to young Mr. Brett Bodine as they go to the high side of the number 67 car being driven by Eddie Bierswall. And there's Earnhardt.
Earnhardt will take the high groove down the main straightaway, trying to pass Brett Bodine, going into one. They're side by side. Oh, a crash, a terrible crash up in turn number 1.
Well,
sounded like a tire let go.
Went. Darrell Waltrip is involved.
Benny Parsons hit the wall hard, and so did Dave Marcus.
Yep. And it did sound like the tire went.
Boy, it sounded like
wall contact was made.
Sounded like an atom bomb went off.
Sterling Marlin was involved, and it did appear as though the tires went before the wall contact was made. I don't know exactly what Darrell hit, but he was not one of the people involved in the primary contact. Benny is sitting in the car, breathing heavily. See him moving around. His race is over, but tough break. Nothing to do on a half-mile racetrack. Going into a corner at 150 miles an hour, you hit the breeze.
Boy, we heard an explosion here in the booth, and it sounded like something literally blew up.
Sounded like two.
Yeah. It was a terrific explosion. Dave Marcus being attended to. I believe he's okay. You can see him moving around, and so is Benny Parsons, but a lot of damaged machinery as we take a look at it once again.
There's the tail end of it. You see Marcus is right in the center of the screen. Benny is the cherry red car right on the rail. There's Sterling Marlin spinning. And you can see the Waltrip is clipped by Dave Marcus as his car is backing down the bank. The pole sitter, Harry Gant, was who else? I mean, Harry Gant's got to be involved. You see some scraping. A Darlington stripe applied by another car here at Bristol, a Harry Gant. But it doesn't look like there's any permanent damage, and Harry still got a shot here.
And another one of those guys involved in this accident, and you say, well, it figures because it's the way his season has been going. Darrell Waltrip was in the wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, he really was, but you know, part of that, to a small degree, if you're running up front on a regular basis, that happens less often, and that's the situation that Waltrip's been in for the last decade.
There you see the damage to that car on the right rear. He has lost a lap, so an unfortunate set of circumstances for Darrell Waltrip.
Bob, we're also getting a report now on the radios that it has begun to rain.
Oh.
We are 80 laps away from the 250 lap point. If we can go 251 laps, this race could be declared official. But we are 80 laps away. There will be no way that we will run 80 laps under yellow. So got some anxious moments coming up here.
Well, the sky doesn't look all that bad. Hopefully it's just a passing light rain shower. We'll find out. So over our average of 8 caution flags per event here at Bristol, because we're already in caution period number 6 with 173 laps completed. This most recent caution period was for an accident down in turn number 1 that involved several cars. Most seriously affected were Dave Marcus and Benny Parsons. Benny took a real heavy shot, and Dave Marcus also clips Darrell Waltrip as Darrell tries to get through. Sterling Marlin is backwards on the racetrack. Richard Petty managing to sneak through.
Alan Kowicki hard on the brakes, staying down the bottom. There is Phil Parsons. He takes the high road, and Phil and Alan, who had hood hinge problems earlier, both get through unscathed.
Got a lot of cleaning up to do in turn number 2. We're glad to see, however, that Dave Marcus is okay. Here's Jerry.
Well, Dave, first of all, are you all right?
Yeah, I'm okay.
What happened up there?
Jerry, as I was going into turn 1, right front tire blew out. Apparently, I ran over something on the track. I didn't see anything and cut it or something, but just as I was entering the corner, just bam, something blew and up into the wall. There was nothing I could do.
It's got to be frustrating. You were having one of the best runs you've had in a long time on a short track.
It is frustrating. You know, we have Lifebuoy sponsoring us and Helen Ray, and we just seem to try and keep getting it turned around. We keep running good, but we just seem to keep having trouble. But Jerry, we don't give up. We're going to keep trying and get it turned around.
Well, Dave Marcus, okay, here at Bristol. We might mention that Benny Parsons was taken into the infield care center for a checkup, and there's a Marcus car and the Parsons car, what's left of those two cars, being loaded on the flatbed trailers.
Dave Marcus led 19 laps of this race. Now, again, the guy that was in the wrong place at the wrong time, just being clipped by Dave Marcus, was Darrell Waltrip, very similar to what he experienced at North Wilkesboro in the most recent Winston Cup race. Well, we had a chance to talk to Darrell earlier in the weekend about driving short tracks. Here was his comments.
Any way of telling when that race is going to happen, when it's going to come together?
Well, you know, the longer it goes, the less confidence you have. It's a situation I can think back to 1985. The beginning of that season was disastrous. We were falling out of a lot of races. We were 200 or 300 points behind Elliott, and we went to Charlotte for the Winston and the World 600, and in 2 days we turned around a whole season. So that's what you look for. We look for a day here Sunday that will turn us around. You know, we're hanging by our fingernails right now, and just a win, or it doesn't even have to be a win. I said this last week. We don't have to win right now. Just let us get up there and race for the lead and be competitive. Give us something so we can get a little wind back in our sails.
That's the comments from Darrell Waltrip about turning his season around. He also has some comments, Larry, on driving short tracks.
Yeah, talking about the concentration level that's required and how much that is as much a part of being a successful race driver as it is the actual physical strength that it requires you to exert when you're going around a high-banked half-mile track.
Michael Waltrip has just been given the black flag. That's the car running right beside Darrell Waltrip, the number 30 machine.
Bob, I thought he had a very interesting comment a week ago, too, Darrell Waltrip. People have said, oh, the team is feuding. You can see Darrell, no top 5 finishes in 1987. But what he said was, yeah, we're having differences of opinion, but we are agreeing together, and we're staying together.
On back to green on lap number 179. Elliott still the leader, and we have run at this point with 6 caution periods, 53 laps of yellow. Remember, we showed you the graphic at the beginning of the show. That's the average. So this race is well ahead of average as far as caution periods and caution laps are concerned. Darrell Waltrip's car smoking very badly as it goes down the front straightaway. There could be some sheet metal rubbing against the left rear tire on that car. Darrell certainly not up to speed, but he's trying his best to maintain a finish here. There you can see the smoke coming off the left rear tire of that machine. It's pretty serious. They've black flagged Darrell Waltrip.
Some interesting moments coming up in this race right here. Now, everybody has been given a gentle reminder, hey, the weather is not perfect. We've only got 70 laps to go, and that equates to about 15 green flag minutes. Think about that. 15 green flag minutes, and what if the rains come and hit hard? NASCAR has the option of calling this race. If the 4 people up front right now with Brett Bodine lurking as we look at Darrell Waltrip in the pits, if they're thinking the way I'm thinking right now, they each are considering lap 250 as a potential finish line of this race. They may be going for the lead by lap 250. 70 laps for about 15 green flag minutes to go. Let's see how they play.
The first 4, Bill Elliott, Jeff Bodine, Rusty Wallace, and Dale Earnhardt. They're running nose to tail. Not too far behind is Jeff Bodine, followed by Ricky Rudd, Kyle Petty, Morgan Shepherd, Richard Petty, and then Alan Kulwicki. 186 laps down. Earnhardt maintaining a 4th. We have a car into the wall. It's Bill Parsons hitting the inside wall on the front straightaway, right at the end of the straightaway. His car has stopped at the exit to the pit area. So this is going to bring out our 7th caution period of the day. Benny Parsons involved in a crash just a few laps ago, and now brother Phil smacks the wall on the straightaway.
Our information is, by the way, no, it's not a slippery track. The rain shower was very brief. It's over. We've had cars out there with the hot exhaust fumes. The track is likely to be dry. So, no, I don't think that was a factor in what happened. Everybody's coming in, maybe thinking about making that last potential charge for the 70 laps leading up to lap 250.
Let's watch the pit stops as wholesale stops are being completed here by just about everyone in the top 10. Oh, Rusty Wallace with a quick pit stop. I think he only got fuel, did he not? No tire change. No tire change on Rusty Wallace. He is out quickly and is going to not suffer much damage. Meanwhile, it is still activity on pit road in the Bill Elliott pit. And also in the Dale Earnhardt pit. Earnhardt now moves out. Bill is down off the jacks and moving back on out of the racetrack, as is Brett Bodine.
Several people have stayed out. Schrader picked up one of the 2 or 3 laps that he's down. Morgan Shepherd stayed out. Alan Kowicki stayed out. They're not pitting this time either. Harry Gant is ducking in as we're looking at Dale Earnhardt back out onto the racetrack. There's Kenny Schrader, who picked up that lap we were telling you about. Others who stayed out, Sterling Marlin, Neil Bonnet, and those are the only people. There's Phil Parsons, still trying to work his way back behind the pit wall. Bobby Ellison, he's been out for about the last 20 laps, Bob, half of which have been run under caution.
Yeah, he was involved in that crash up there in the first turn, and he was behind the wall for 98 laps, but is back in competition. We're yellow again. Turns 1 and 2 after having just taken the green flag for more racing, and Morgan Shepherd now has the lead with Alan Kowicki running second, although he is third in line. Ken Schrader is between Morgan Shepherd and Alan Kowicki. Let's go to the infield, where Jerry Punch is with our friend and colleague Benny Parsons, who really took a shot up in turn 1.
Indeed he did. And first of all, Benny, you took a heck of a shot. Are you all right?
Well, I think I'm okay. My head hurts. You know, when I try to move my head too quickly, I hit the roll bar or the headrest or something with my helmet, and it really gave me a headache. But other than that, I feel fine.
What actually happened up there?
We have a crash, Jerry. It involves Mike Waltrip. It's a minor crash. I think a tire blew, and Bobby Hillen has blown an engine, and he's got smoke pouring from the rear end of that race car, but we're yellow again. Go ahead with the Benny interview. That's the situation on the track.
Benny, what happened up there in turn 1?
You know, what happened was evidently it was a piece of debris on the racetrack, and Dave Marcus, who was immediately in front of me, ran over it, and he blew the right rear tire. I heard the boom from Dave Marcus' car inside my car with the engine going, my helmet on. I heard the boom, and I said, uh-oh. And about the time I said to myself, uh-oh, I blew a right rear tire. I ran over whatever else it was that he ran over, and once I blew that right rear, it was over. And, you know, the worst thing about it is that this is 2 cars in 3 races that Harry and the guys have had to take back home. And, you know, I'm sure that the Folgers people have got a lot of money, but this is getting to be expensive.
Well, Benny Parsons, 2 cars are gone, but the driver is intact, and we're happy about that.
All right, thank you, Jerry. Boy, a lot of things are going on here. The number 7 car of Alan Kowicki has been black flagged, and it's a situation similar to one earlier involving Dave Marcus. Failure to really slow down on the yellow. Mike Waltrip spun in the backstretch. Bobby Hillen blew a motor big time because there was fire coming from out the underneath of that car. He's on the backstretch. So a lot of things going on here during our 8th caution period.
Hillen's situation did not appear to be a blown engine, by the way. There's Mike Waltrip, who spun coming out of turn number 2. He's been given the black flag because some debris was apparently spied dangling from the machine. It's an interesting judgment call on these black flags that have come out to tell the leader to slow down. Now, they moved Marcus to the back of the pack. Alan Kowicki, they did not force him to the back of the pack that time, but now apparently
maybe a stop and go.
Yeah, they've gotten through to him on the radio because Alan is ducking into the pits. He is the only car among the leaders who's coming in the pit. Remember, we just did pit about 3 or 4 laps ago. They're taking the opportunity to make a few adjustments, check the car over, make sure everything is okay. But a black flag apparently for racing around to the yellow. And I say it's an interesting judgment call because you have that gentleman's agreement where if you're racing for position, you're allowed to go hard to the line. But if you're not racing for position, they like you to slow down when that yellow comes out.
So now the number 44 car of Sterling Marlin is the leader. He is our 9th different leader. Cars are in turn number 1, but they have just taken the green flag on lap number 199. We are 51 laps away from the halfway point where if we get rain, we'll stop. Or at least believes NASCAR has the option of stopping the race and calling an official one at the 251 lap mark. Sterling Marlin, the leader. Right behind him is Ken Schrader. Schrader still 1 lap down, trying to make it up.
Remember that twice today, Schrader has been leveled by tire problems. He has been as many as 2 laps down twice, and now he's just 1 car length from being back on the lead lap. So Ken Schrader is going to run hard.
And right back at Ken Schrader is Rusty Wallace, and he is really moving. He was 5th when the green flag came out, and he is already up to 2nd position now. And Dale Earnhardt follows Rusty by on the low side, passing Morgan Shepherd.
And Earnhardt is thinking, he's trucking. You can see him fighting that car. Dale Earnhardt is standing on the button. He wants to get Rusty Wallace into the point in the race where there's a psychological advantage to putting a pass on the guy under green right now.
Came in under caution. Remember, they did not change tires. They came in and took fuel only. The reason? Mary Dawson says they're getting excellent tire wear from their Goodyear tires, and they're concerned about the weather. They want to stay up front and try to go to the lead and lead now. They told Rusty, okay, go ahead, save nothing for the end. Push the car. Push it as hard as you can. Get to the front because it's liable to rain in the next half hour, possibly 45 minutes.
Well, I guarantee you he is pushing that car now, but is having no luck at all, shaking Dale Earnhardt. Earnhardt goes high in turn number 2, and Earnhardt, it appears as if he may have the faster car if he can get that line and the opportunity to pass.
Earnhardt is the faster of that duo, but Sterling Marlin, we haven't seen this at all today. Meanwhile, he is maintaining an advantage over the 2 of them. Dale Earnhardt and Rusty slips in the number 1 corner, and Earnhardt like lightning flashes by.
Earnhardt moves to 2nd now, dropping Rusty back to 3rd. Morgan Shepherd is 4th. 5th position is Bill Elliott and Neil Bonnet as they race.
Report is it's raining once again. Now, NASCAR officials will be watching this situation carefully. It's a lot more critical on a high bank track like this than on a flat track. Marlin holds the advantage right now. There is Ken Schrader. He senses the rain. He'd like to get the lap back. Schrader steers around J.D. McDuffie. Not this lap. Watch Kenny Schrader. Remember, if he can pass Sterling Marlin, he's on the lead lap. That time by J.D. McDuffie may have kept Kenny from getting his lap.
6th, 7th, 8th, and 9th. 4 cars. Now make it 5 cars going at it. It's Neil Bonnet low, Jeff Bodine high. Following him is Kyle Petty. Brett Bodine and Ricky Rutter also involved in this scramble for position, and Richard Petty is lurking.
These guys have had umbilical cords among them for almost the entire race. Kyle Petty coming off his best performance, I believe, in his Winston Cup career. There in the Citgo Wood Brothers 21, Ricky Rudd on the high side of the former Bobby Allison protege, Neil Bonnet. And there is Brett Bodine, who had his stint at the front today. But since this last pit stop segment, he has gone back to around 10.
Richard Petty having a good run, just like he did last weekend. Now he moves high, passing Neil Bonnet, or attempting to pass Neil. In turn number 2, he does cleanly. And we crash again. It is the number 67 car of Eddie Bierschwale that's made contact and spins to the pit apron in turn number 2. So this is our 9th caution period of the day. It comes on lap 2:14.
This may or may not play a role in the outcome, but think of all this time we've lost with caution flags. Had we not had the 7 or 8 that we've already had, we'd be well past the 250 mark. What if Earnhardt comes up here and passes Sterling? That this was the normal race. The race would be potentially over right now.
And there you can see the contact with the wall of Eddie Bierschwale. And look at the driving behind him. Yeah, J.D. going to the low side.
Slick Johnson in the 12 car. Both of them doing a very good job.
Bierschwale's car is moving down pit road on the backstretch. That was a situation where the drivers in back of Bierschwale had no vision problem. They could see clearly where they were to go. The caution rather coming out on lap number 214. We've already had 63 laps of yellow in this race, and we're not to the halfway point yet.
36 laps plus to go. Very interesting phenomenon of this weather as it continues to develop. Whether or not it's going to have a bearing on the outcome of this race. And Rusty Wallace has pitted underneath this yellow.
And this time it once again is going to be fuel. Oh, they're raising the hood on the car, and a crew member has jumped in the car. This spells something a little bit more serious than just a routine pit stop.
Well, the guy who went under the hood, I assumed he was just going after the weight, but once somebody jumped in the car, obviously Barry Dotson and crew, I think that's Barry himself who's been inside there. They thought they may have had just a little more serious problem. You know, there are 4 bolts in this car that can affect where the weight is distributed on the 4 tires. It's called making wedge or weight jacking. One turn of one of those bolts will move the weight of the car down to about 10 or 15 pounds to one particular corner.
Rusty, this is Bob Jenkins again. What's the problem?
Well, we got a mister all of a sudden. It just developed. We just changed ignitions. Hopefully that fixed it.
You didn't take on tires last time, fuel only. Is your tire situation okay?
Car's handling perfect. I just hope the motor's not missing. We just changed ignitions and hopefully that'll fix it. We'll find out this time.
All right, we'll go back to green next lap. Best of luck. Let's go down to Jerry Punch, who's with Richard Childress, owner of the Dale Earnhardt car.
Richard, NASCAR was checking with you just a couple laps ago about the rain, a little bit of a drizzle. What did they ask you to do? Check with Dale?
Yeah, they just asked me to check with Dale on it, and you know, he was busy racing. He couldn't come back and comment, but if it would have been real wet, I'm sure he would have hollered at me.
Well, NASCAR always concerned about safety. They went to this car owner and a couple others and said, ask your driver, has it wet out there? How are track conditions? Apparently the driver seemed to think it's okay. Just a light drizzle right now, and the track is dry.
And we are about to go green once again with Sterling Marlin shown as the leader, but Dale Earnhardt is right behind him. Let's see how much muscle Marlin has here and see if he can hold off Dale Earnhardt. Once again, Ken Schrader positions himself between first and second as Ken continues to try to make up the lost lap. Another driver that talked very confidently going into this race yesterday was Sterling Marlin. He said this was, he thought, his best opportunity to win a race in a long time. He is leading at the moment. You'll recall he also ran well here 2 years ago at Bristol.
So quick on a half mile. Morgan Shepherd, Bill Elliott, Jeff Bodine, third, fourth, fifth. Bodine, remember his strength about a half hour ago, the last time we had a long green flag segment. That means one that went more than 3 laps. Jeff Bodine was one of the quickest on the speedway.
Battle is for fourth. Elliott low, Bodine high. And now Bodine is going to go for that third position alongside Morgan Shepherd. Morgan once again on the top side of the racetrack, and Bill Elliott has third for the moment at least.
Morgan looked like that he had Elliott covered, but the unusual line of Morgan Shepherd made him get out of the throttle. He had to fall back in line. Now he'll try to move under Morgan. He slides up under Morgan as Morgan slides up into turn number 3, and Bodine is going to look towards Bill Elliott.
Guys have lightened up once again. I don't think there's an immediate threat of rain, at least a hard rain, that's going to stop things. So we're going to continue to race here. 223 laps when we complete this time down. Elliott and Bodine. Remember, Elliott led a portion of this race, but Bodine once again showing that his car is working well. He passes Bill Elliott on the high side, and Ricky Rudd back there below Morgan Shepherd is also running very well. And there we have the battle for the lead as Earnhardt has gotten around the lap car of Ken Schrader, and now Earnhardt is right behind Sterling Marlin.
Sterling Marlin, whose best finish in 1987 in this Piedmont Oldsmobile has been a fourth at Darlington. His best career finish was at Daytona, the firecracker race a year ago, 1986, when he finished second.
Oldsmobile against Chevrolet. The Piedmont Olds driven by Sterling Marlin, and the Chevrolet, of course, by Dale Earnhardt. The Ford of Ken Schrader is behind Earnhardt, but he is not on the lead lap.
Dale Earnhardt, who despite the incredible success of 1987 says, hey, I'm not on the ragged edge. They've done a very good job this year. There's a look at Sterling Marlin and Dale Earnhardt. They've done a very good job this year of not only physically preparing the car, but psychologically they've handled the situation very well. They don't have everybody else psyched out, but they do have the people wondering. They're the first ones seemingly to close up shop on a practice day on a Thursday or Friday. They're the first ones to take a day or two off in the shop with a great deal of confidence in practice. They seem to come ready to race. That's been the situation all year long.
Sterling Marlin, the 1983 Rookie of the Year, has not won a Winston Cup race, but is in the lead at the moment. He's 29 years of age.
Sterling has entered 80 times on the Winston Cup Trail, and he's beginning to approach the $500,000 mark. He's not there yet in career winning.
15 and 26 are kind of hammering away at each other out there for sixth spot. It's Morgan Shepherd in the Quaker State car and the Motorcraft 4 driven by Ricky Rudd.
They are playing with blasting caps. A lot of people have probably been watching that unusual line of Morgan. Go back to the previous lap. Now watch Ricky move up there, touch him, and say, hey, Morgan, yeah, Chrome Horn, our producer, Neil Goldberg, called it. That's pretty appropriate.
Morgan is running well. So is Richard Petty, as a matter of fact, and he's right there behind Ricky Rudd.
This time, no. Ricky just takes a look down there, tries to stay as close as he possibly can to Morgan. This time, Ricky dives down, drives in, pile drives into turn number 4. Will he have enough momentum? Maybe coming out of 2 will be his best shot as Morgan drifts high. Rudd gets a little bit of advantage. Bump right there down the backstretch. Rudd will try to hold his line going to 3. Halfway through the corner, Morgan's going to slip to the high side. Rudd will go to the low side. He should get it coming out of 2 this time around.
Of course, remember, if you were with us yesterday, live here on ESPN, Morgan Shepherd won the Busch Grand National race. And he is running well in that Quaker State car this afternoon. The Quaker State car owned, of course, by drag racer Kenny Bernstein. 13 cars are on the lead lap. The last car on the lead lap in 13th position is Harry Gant, the pole sitter, who's not been with the program all day long. Now Shepherd still in that high groove, challenging Ricky Rudd, 6th and 7th. Now Richard Petty comes along and makes a bid. So while that racing is going on, we'll show you the leaders once again, and it is still a Sterling Marlin race, followed by Dale Earnhardt. And Ken Schrader keeping right up with the leaders in his quest to get on the lead lap. There's a story on the Jeff Bodine car. We get it from Dr. Jerry Punt.
Well, you can see behind me that they're totally restructuring this pit. In fact, about 2 laps ago, there was no one here. Jeff Bodine, Levi Garrett's car was the pit in this position for the day. However, when their teammate, Benny Parsons, exited the race, they figured, well, Benny had a better pit than we did, so we'll go down there and pit where he was pitting. They moved all their equipment all the way down toward turn 1 to pit. NASCAR says, nope, you cannot do that without permission. You must bring everything back. They brought all the equipment back here. Now they got to totally restructure the pit again. They have moved twice already today. Now they're setting back up where they were originally.
Not only has the crew been moving, but Jeff Bodine has been moving on the racetrack. Jeff Bodine is only 3 car lengths behind Kenny Schrader, who is a half a car length behind Mr. Earnhardt, who is 1 car length out of the lead. Jeff Bodine has run faster than any other car on the racetrack throughout the last 20 laps.
This has to be one of Jeff's better performances of 1987. That car is working for him. You can see how close he is now to second place Dale Earnhardt. Bodine sneaking into the picture on the right side of your screen. On the high side now. He'll be trying to pass Ken Schrader here and put clean sailing between himself and second place Earnhardt. There he is side by side with Ken Schrader in turn number 4, and he passes Ken and now is going to be right on the back bumper of Dale Earnhardt, as the first 3 cars now are going to be running nose to tail.
How many times in 1987 have we seen another competitor pass Dale Earnhardt at speed under a green flag condition? Well, I think we've seen Bill Elliott do it, but there can't be more than 2. Is Jeff Bodine readying himself to be the next one to do that?
Well, if Dale Earnhardt's car is working properly today, I don't think it's the best. And there you can see Rusty Wallace going a lap down. Back with more. Second and third. That's how close they are as we have completed now 248 laps. Make it 249. We're only 2 away from the point where it's an official race. the leader, Sterling Marlin. Second is Dale Earnhardt, and third is Jeff Bodine. Early in the race, we referred to the ambulance on the backstretch. Jerry Punch can update us.
Bill Punch is one of the drivers here, had a crewman hit earlier in the race. The crewman's name is Andy Petrie. We are pleased to report that Andy is back in the racetrack, has been checked out by the officials here. The safety crews has only a sprained and a bruised ankle, will be okay, and apparently Andy wanted everyone to know he's fine.
All right, Jerry Punch with that update from the pit area as we continue to watch the leaders. And now we do have an official race.
Just about to comment that it is potentially over. An Oldsmobile has never won this race. There goes Earnhardt to the inside, but lap traffic tailed him back.
Marlin is spinning, hitting the wall. Earnhardt survives, but Bodine and Schrader both go to the infield in a spin.
An incredible moment. It's going to be very difficult for anybody who observed that to not have some emotions. Dale Earnhardt got to the inside of Sterling Marlin. We'll have to look at a replay before we pass any judgment. Earnhardt got into the left rear of Sterling Marlin, and it unfortunately took out Jeff Bodine.
Here it is again, Larry.
Going into number 1. Marlin, he did pinch down. Dale had moved to the inside there when they went to put the lap on the number 81 car of Mike Porter. We'll take another angle. Kenny Schrader, also an innocent victim, who's involved. Now, I did not have an opportunity to see whether or not Bodine lost the lap. I think he was able to hold on to the lap. Marlin went into the wall very hard, though.
Well, that's a judgment call, and one that I will not get involved with. Let's just say it was...
The disadvantage that Dale is in is that it has happened often in the last season and a half. It is a high-banked half-mile racetrack. He did have a line going down the straightaway, but the history haunts him in this situation.
Boy, he got out of that very lucky, though. He made slight contact with Sterling Marlin as he slid down off the banking, but very little damage to the right side of that race car. And Earnhardt, I think, is going to come out in pretty good shape. But Marlin, on the other hand, is through for the day. There's the damage on the right front of the car. The yellow out on lap number 254 for our 10th caution flag of the afternoon at the Valleydale meet at Bristol, Tennessee, for the Valleydale Meets 500 Winston Cup race with 256 laps completed. 10th caution period of the afternoon is in progress because of an accident in turn number 1, which involved Sterling Marlin. Now we'll take a look at it again. He was not the only car involved, but the only one that's going to be able to call it quits for the day.
You have to keep in mind where everybody is on the racetrack at all times when you're on a high-bank speedway like this. It's most unfortunate that Kenny Schrader couldn't get on the binders just a touch sooner, because it was actually he who got into Jeff Bodine. Jeff had done a pretty good job avoiding the Earnhardt Marlin situation, and Kenny was trying to do his best to steer through it. Under normal circumstances, you stay on the gas and try and drive through something. But that was the situation that took Jeff to the infield. Jeff was able to hold on to the lead lap. As a matter of fact, he comes out of the pits after the pit stop ahead of Dale Earnhardt. Both of them had repair work to do.
Now, the situation is that Jeff Bodine and Ken Schrader, who both spun to the infield, neither lost a lap. So Ken Schrader remains a lap down, and Jeff Bodine remains on the lead lap. Now, the leader of the race, when we go back to green, assuming that he does not come in for any more pit work, is going to be Kyle Petty. And Bill Elliott is going to be shown in second, with Ricky Rudd third, Morgan Shepherd fourth, and Richard Petty in fifth. Then it'll be Jeff Bodine, Dale Earnhardt, Neil Bonnet, Brett Bodine, Alan Kulwicki, and others. There is the leader, or at least who will probably be the leader when we go back to green, Kyle Petty. Excellent run last weekend at North Wilkesboro, and an excellent run here this afternoon on the high-banked half-mile racetrack at Bristol. Ken Schrader comes in for another pit stop, but it'll be a quick one, we assume, and he will not lose any more laps. 58 of the 500 laps completed. Here are the top 10. It's Kyle Petty and Bill Elliott first and second, then Ricky Rudd, Morgan Shepherd, and Richard Petty. In sixth position is Jeff Bodine. Seventh is Dale Earnhardt. Eighth, Neil Bonnet. Ninth, Brett Bodine. And 10th is Alan Kulwicki. Now, there has been some discussion between the NASCAR officials working this race and the Richard Childress crew. Larry?
NASCAR has decided that they are not completely pleased with Dale Earnhardt's judgment. The comment has been made that twice is almost enough, almost too much, and that should another incident unfold, you see they're cordial at this point as Richard Childress there talking to the NASCAR officials. They have told Dale that if another incident occurs on the racetrack in which there is a value judgment called for and that they are not pleased, they will call him into the pits. And there's a possibility that Dick Beatty, who was watching this race from the tower here on the outside of the racetrack, would go across the track under yellow and have a personal conversation with Dale.
There is Earnhardt on the racetrack as we remain under yellow. 261 laps completed and our 10th caution period of the afternoon. Well, there are ominous skies, but our most concerned with safety here at Bristol International.
NASCAR Winston Cup stock car racing has a tremendous safety record. We've all seen drivers somersault at 200 miles per hour end over end and yet walk away completely unscathed. How do they do it? Well, let's find out. There are three primary safety endeavors that NASCAR has built into these race cars. One, to make sure that the driver's compartment stays completely intact. Number two, to make sure the driver stays within that compartment. And number three, to make sure that if a driver is injured or an accident occurs, he can be removed from that race car very quickly and safely. Let's take a look at the three primary safety areas. The driver's compartment, completely surrounded by a steel reinforced roll cage to protect the driver. These metal bars on roof, front, and side will keep the motor or rear part of the car from coming in on the car, forming a safety perimeter here where the driver sits. Now, keeping the driver in this safety compartment, a 5-point seatbelt hookup, a padded reinforced seat, and most importantly, just a couple of years ago, the window netting was added. It's clamps here along the side door to keep the driver's arm and head from flying or flopping around in the window when the car is somersaulting on the speedway. Now, how about getting a driver out of the car quickly and safely? Safety crews are responding very rapidly. They come to the car. They try to get the driver out. Maybe the car is bent. The steering wheel usually in the way. No problem anymore. They simply pull this little clamp, lift the steering wheel off, drop it out of the way, and the driver can be easily lifted from the car and taken to the ambulance. One final point. Last year, NASCAR required a special shutoff for all electrical current. If the safety crews come to a car and it's still running, maybe the driver is unconscious, they don't know which switch to hit here on the panel to cut the car off. Now all cars have this shutoff switch right here. They simply pull the switch, shut it off, and all power to everything in the car will cease. Safety features required on all Winston Cup cars certainly can save injuries and possibly save lives.
Well, I'm sure it saved an injury on the Sterling Marlin machine as he went into the wall very hard in turn number 1. Let's go down to Jerry Punch, who's with Sterling.
Well, Sterling, first of all, you were having a super run, but we want to ask you, are you okay?
Yeah, the car hit real hard, and I'm all right, and, you know, the boys really done a good job here on the car, and, you know, it's just an unfortunate thing happened, and, you know, we'll back up and get them next week.
Let's take a look at the replay. You tell us what happened. Here you are going into turn 1, leading.
Well, it looks like, you know, you can see it. He definitely turned me around, and you know, it's unfortunate. The car's running real good, and the boys had worked real hard on the car all week, and you know, what can you say?
What were Dale's options there? You think he could have stayed out of you possibly, or did he have anywhere to go?
Yeah, he could have. You know, he could have definitely stayed out. You know, if you see a man up beside you up your door, he's there. But you know, a deal like that is just you know, it's backyard Saturday night racing.
Well, Sterling, sorry to see you out of it. A brand new race car now totally destroyed here at Bristol, and better luck next time.
Okay, thank you.
The engines are silent at Bristol International Raceway as the red flag has come out because of rain. This is a pretty decent shower. It's already wet down the track very much, and the pit crews are trying to keep their individual areas dry by putting down tarpaulins, but it is coming down at a pretty good rate right now. 265 laps have completed. We are beyond the halfway point, so should this last a long time, NASCAR has here at Bristol. It rained early this morning. They got the track dry. The sun shone for a while, but now we're under red because of rain on the racetrack. Safety, as we have mentioned so many times, is important here at Bristol. Here's a track fact.
National Raceway, one severe problem for drivers is neck fatigue. There are a number of different ways to combat that problem. Let's take a look. Kyle Petty's helmet has a clamp on the left side with a shoulder harness that goes up through his shoulder and keeps the helmet upright. His dad, Richard, has two clamps. One on top of the helmet that attaches to a clamp beneath the roof, and this strap which attaches to a belt down beside the seat. Sprint car driver Kenny Schrader found that when he flipped the sprint cars and rolled them, that this was helpful. A cervical collar that took up the space between his helmet and his shoulders is also helpful here at Bristol. One other variation, simply welding a plate beside the seat that the helmet can rest against. This plate keeps the helmet from moving over to the right side. Terry Labonte uses it, Bobby Hilton uses it, and many other drivers. It's very effective to combat neck fatigue here at Bristol.
The spectators are bringing out everything they can think of to keep themselves dry. Umbrellas and pieces of plastic and whatever, because it's raining pretty good here and the track is very wet. They're bringing out the trucks to help dry it.
They are also bringing out a lot of their emotions. A lot of booing and hissing going on as selected drivers exited their cars. And I will tell you, it was not Darrell Waltrip.
Well, let's go down to Jerry Punch, who's with the man, perhaps we should say, in question, Dale Earnhardt.
Well, Dale climbing out of the car. Dale, the comment we got to make first is, tell us about the connection between you and Sterling Marlin up there in turn one.
Well, I've been running him pretty hard there for about 10 or 15 laps, and I about burnt my brakes up stopping in the corner for him. But I got under him a couple times, and he chopped me back off. But, you know, I was under him coming off before, and then when we got down to the corner there, a slow car was there. Well, I was in the brakes and tried to get out of there, but, you know, I didn't get off of it, you know, getting the brakes hard enough, I don't reckon, because the slow car sort of come up, and Sterling came down and pinched, you know, clipped the left rear of his car and spun him around. Got us in the wreck, too, so put us back. But, you know, things like that happen at Bristol. You know, it got a little tight down there, and that's the way it goes.
How bad is your car hurt?
Well, I don't think it's hurt, really, just sheet metal. We had a flat early in the race, and it put us back and was having a race through that traffic. If we hadn't have had that flat, I think we'd been way out front not worrying about it.
Well, Dale Earnhardt here at Bristol.
So that's the comments of Dale Earnhardt. We just have received a weather update. They have radar that they check with, and this thing is about 15 miles wide, and so it's going to be around, I guess, for a while.
Let's talk about who has been deposited in the lead. Remember when there was a big wreck at Richmond a couple years ago?
Involving?
Several people slithered through. Darrell Waltrip and Dale Earnhardt were the two principals in that. Joe Ruttman had a chance at winning. The winner was Kyle Petty. He's got one career Winston Cup win, and guess who the leader is right now? It's Kyle Petty. The Wood brothers have never won here at Bristol.
We hope that the weather conditions are a little bit better in Rio de Janeiro. When I went down there a couple of weeks ago, it was hot and humid, but it has been raining down there. We hope that they receive no rain for the first Formula One race of the year, the Brazilian Grand Prix. And ESPN's coverage of that event will be coming up right after our live presentation from Bristol. The Williams cars were the hot qualifiers.
Yeah, they really were. The Bennettons looked very good, both of them qualifying in the top six, and particularly pleasing for Terry Boutsen. A nice man. There are a lot of people who feel that his true potential has not been shown completely yet, and this may be his best chance. He thinks it is.
Well, Bristol International Raceway has been a venue on the Winston Cup series for many, many years. And even though it's raining here, we can hope we can have some racing resuming this afternoon. In the meantime, here's a Grand National memory.
The Southeastern 500 was more than just another race. Cale Yarborough won the pole and led every lap in Junior Johnson's Chevy. It marked only the second time in Grand National history that a driver led from flag to flag in a major event. And it was the start of a dynasty for two of the most prominent figures in NASCAR today.
There you can see that the visibility here has been reduced substantially. It is really raining hard here at Bristol, and we are under red. Right now at Bristol International Raceway, the winner would be Kyle Petty, and it is raining very hard. In fact, it's raining so hard that they have, by and large, stopped the trucks from going around in an effort to dry the track. So if it were to end right now, Kyle Petty would be the winner, and Elliott would be second, then Ricky Rudd, Morgan Shepherd, and Richard Petty. We have completed 265 laps. Coming up later this afternoon, our coverage of the first Formula One race of 1987 from Rio de Janeiro, the Brazilian Grand Prix. And as we mentioned, The Williams cars qualified top at Rio de Janeiro earlier this weekend. Now, the special Speed Week Formula One preview is going to be coming up in just a few moments, so we hope that you'll stay with us for that. There's nothing going on here at Bristol, but we will keep you updated throughout the afternoon. So stay tuned in just a few moments now for a special Formula One preview, a special Speed Week 100 at Bristol International and that. And it's been an exciting race to this point. Now, one very significant development in this race was the crash involving Dale Earnhardt, and at that time, the leader, Sterling Marlin.
Bob, it really was. It was the second incident that Dale had been involved in today's race. Coming down the front stretch here just before this red flag caused by rain, you can see it looks like Dale has a little bit of a line. Sterling takes what he believes to be his normal line going into the high bank #1 corner. The cars come together. Dale's right front, Sterling's left rear. There were some frayed feelings there, and it's a judgment call on a racetrack like this. I will say that, again, the past experiences with situations like this, because Dale's been involved, really works to his detriment. Another point that normally in situations like that, when you've got two veteran drivers trying to make a judgment call, the guy doing the challenging should make way for the leader.
One guy doing a rain dance downstairs in hopes his race will be called at this point is the leader, Kyle Petty, and our Jerry Punch is with him.
Indeed he is. We're dancing out here hoping that the rain continues. And Kyle, again, it looks like possibly the showers you're leading right now. You may be able to pick up your second win of the career and the first ever for the Wood brothers here.
Yeah, it would. I'd take it. Anyway, as tough as it's been up here all day long with as many wrecks as they've had, and we've been fortunate to stay out of trouble, then you take them any way you can get them. I've been dancing. I told him, I said, I've been praying for about the last 200 laps ever since we broke into the top 10 for rain. That was good enough for me.
You said that we were joking during while we were going to Rio that you had a special strategy to stay out of trouble today.
Yeah, I told him, I said, the way I wanted Richmond was I was running along about 5th, everybody crashed, and I won the race. And I said, I just took up that strategy, and I said it works at least one race a year. So you waste 29, you get one in, you're all right.
Do you have the car, if we do restart, do you think you may have the horsepower to hang with Elliott and Ricky Rudd up front?
I think Elliott's pretty tough. I really hadn't run with Ricky. Bodine's real stout. Jeff is, and so is Brent. Both of them are. But, you know, we'll take it anyway. If they want to start again, we'll run again.
Kyle Petty leading here at Bristol.
However, it continues to rain, although the skies are beginning to brighten just a little bit. It's still raining, and the track is very, very wet. So I don't know whether we're going to have racing here or not, but we will update you throughout the evening. Well, this Valleydale Meets 500 is being brought to you by Champion Spark Plug Company, by Honda Motorcycles, Honda, follow the leader, and by Quaker State Motor Oil, new Quaker State with QSX, keeps your engine cleaner to last longer. So we'll continue to update you here on the weather conditions at Bristol International Raceway. In the meantime, let's go to our coverage with Jackie Stewart, Jerry Garrett, and John Bisignano, Formula One in Rio de Janeiro. We'll be back to update you throughout the afternoon. 500 Winston Cup race. We were red for an hour and 28 minutes because of rain, but the track has dried enough to allow competition to resume, and we are now on lap number 332 with Bill Elliott leading and Morgan Shepherd in second. Now here's a battle for position. This involves the number 7 car of Alan Kulwicki, 33, the pole sitter for this race, Harry Gant, and the number 15 car of Ricky Rudd. This is 7, 8, and 9.
It's been a good day for all three of them. I would imagine a Ricky Rudd would like to be doing better. There's no question he is one of the acknowledged stars in NASCAR on short tracks, and particularly a track like this. Remember, we saw him in a hand-to-hand combat duel with Dale Earnhardt a year ago on an ESPN broadcast. Ricky is very strong. Bud Moore, with his experience, really knows how to put together a car for short track racing. And yeah, this is okay. They're running in the top 10, but they are used to being a candidate all day long.
Again, Rusty Wallace goes another lap down.
And Kulwicki, like Schrader, is somebody in 1987 who is really becoming of age. Alan Kulwicki had that pole at Richmond earlier this year, and the program seems to be inching along, getting better each week on the super speedways, but on the short track, the team has really arrived, and it's despite a lot of chicanery that's going on in the team. They've had some people come and some people go. Alan runs it with a strong iron fist, and it's worked well. The short track program is here. If they can make some improvements on the long track, they might be a candidate for top 10 points.
Now Morgan Shepherd may make a bid for the lead here. No, not quite. Again, we see some tire smoke off the right rear of that Buick, but he is certainly hanging right in there in second position. Goes high once again in 1 and 2, but Bill Elliott puts a little bit of racetrack between himself and Morgan Shepherd. Let's get out to the pit area.
Bob, our best guess, should this race go green all the way, there's Elliott getting anxious, moving through slower traffic. And it's hard to assess because we had a 20-minute yellow flag period which began this segment of the race. But our best guess is that most of the top contenders can go to about lap 420 before they have to stop again. Morgan really giving Bill the once-over. Now, that is with the exception of number 11, Brett Bodine, and 3, Dale Earnhardt. They may be able to go 10 or 15 laps longer because they pitted after the rain delay.
All right, we're seeing some tire smoke off the right rear of the Morgan Shepherd car now and then, not every lap, but occasionally. There's a little right there. Does that mean, Larry, that he's extensively wearing down that tire, and will it play a factor later in the race?
Normally not. Depends on how long he keeps this up, and if we get an opportunity either for him to pit or a yellow flag in there. But normally the tires, the modern tires, they can take a great deal of abuse. It is not the best situation, and Morgan right now, boy, he's all over Bill. It looks like this is going to be a lap he'll have a chance to take the lead.
Oh, and Morgan got him because of Darrell Waltrip. Waltrip was a slower car, got in the way, and Elliott had to slam on the brakes, and Morgan Shepherd had the line, so Shepherd becomes our third, make it the 12th different leader of this race. We have had 13 lead changes.
Now, if smoke continues to pour from Morgan's wheels, that means that something is just not right in the setup, and that could be a problem, and here comes Earnhardt.
Earnhardt is on the move once again. Dale is passing the 43 car of Richard Petty, moving into 6th position. So at the start of the restart on the after the red flag, Dale began to drop back, but is now on the move once again. Here's a replay of the pass.
Morgan took his time. He took about 4 or 5 cautious laps to get around Bill Elliott. He knew that his advantage would be in the middle of a couple of turns. Now, what played into his hands, which he didn't really predict, was Darrell Waltrip popping up there. And he was able to move down by maybe a half a lane, just enough to kind of close that door on Bill Elliott and allowed him to get a clean pass.
And Earnhardt continues the drive toward the front as he has now moved up to challenge Kyle Petty in 4th position. So Earnhardt is certainly not out of this race yet, although recall he was involved in an incident with Sterling Marlin down in turn number 1 that damaged the right front of that car. As to whether it damaged it significantly, well, it's hard to tell. I don't really think so.
I'm pretty impressed, I'll tell you, with both Earnhardt and Bodine, because it's pretty obvious they got strong cars. They were very patient when this race went back to green. They knew there was a long way to go. They weren't completely certain as to the condition of the track, and they just waited it out. And it's really paying dividends now.
Lapping the number 12 car of Slick Johnson. They move into turn number 3 once again.
Remember last week at North Wilkesboro, this is the duo that came down near the end of the race. It was going to be between the two of them, and Dale was able to slither by and won his 4th event of the 1987 season.
With 148 laps to go, the lead is held by Morgan Shepherd, who won the Grand National race here at Bristol yesterday. In 2nd position is Bill Elliott, who's being taken high by Brett Bodine, but now Bill gets safely by. We'll return to Bristol for 54 out of 500 laps completed. The leader, Morgan Shepherd. Bill Elliott second, Jeff Bodine third, Kyle Petty fourth, and Dale Earnhardt in fifth. And there is how close it is between first and second.
Morgan is perhaps the newest $1 million club member. We mentioned Jimmy Means earlier in this broadcast. Morgan has $1,015,000 to his career winning total. And that last win was in Atlanta a year ago. He's won twice in his 160 starts in his Winston Cup career. He's having a strong day. Bob, you know, I'm aware that one of the things the crew has been talking to Morgan about, we'll come back to that story in a minute. Here comes Earnhardt. Earnhardt has the edge this time, and Dale Earnhardt moves up a position. He goes underneath Kyle Petty.
Well, he is definitely on the move. There's no question about that.
The big question is it Bodine, that's Jeff Bodine, or Bill Elliott, or is it Morgan Shepherd? None of the four of them has shown the superior strength that this man, Dale Earnhardt, has shown in races up to this season. Both Bodine and Earnhardt are creeping up, but I'm not completely convinced who is the strongest of that quartet.
Kyle Petty moving high, passing Brent Bodine, who again is substituting for the ailing Terry Labonte. Up front, it's still Morgan Shepherd and Bill Elliott. We're going to time this next lap by Morgan Shepherd and give you an idea of the pace being set in this race.
Bob, they have had discussions, the Bernstein, Larry McReynolds crew with Morgan, about patience, about trying to think almost as much as you flex the muscles during the race. They have felt that maybe their exuberance has been something that has caused them some problems. And Morgan has been patient. He's been running up near the front, but he's had not a cautious day, but one that's been a steady pace.
17.9 seconds. That translates to a speed of 107.19 miles an hour, and the pole-setting speed was 115. Now we're going to try to time Earnhardt, who is running back in fourth place, to see if he is faster than the leaders. There he is.
I think you'll find his times are a little faster, but the biggest question we pose, the one who among the first four is the fastest, is going to be if he and Bodine get out together, because Jeff's the other guy who's ascending.
The clock has started on the lap. We're following Dale Earnhardt. You can see Dale wrestling the wheel as he goes into turns number 3, and you can also see how much he literally lays down in that race car. Well, it's about a half-second faster than Morgan Shepherd. That translates to a speed of 110.275. So Elliott is definitely faster. And look at this battle for second position as Jeff Bodine blows off Bill Elliott, and he moves to second. And Dale Earnhardt is right there behind Elliott.
Used the same move Jeff did that Morgan did on turn 3 on Bill about 15 laps ago.
Boy, we have just seen some great racing all day long, and it is not over by any means. There's the leader, Shepherd. Now passing through is Jeff Bodine. In third is Bill Elliott, and fourth is Dale Earnhardt. Back in fifth position is going to be Kyle Petty, then Richard Petty, and Harry Gant.
Right now we are shining through the window, the 140 laps to go window. That will mean that everybody is going to be on even footing for fuel. Everyone will stop one more time, and once they've gotten past this 140 laps to go, that means everybody will be able to go the distance.
Bill Elliott falls to fourth as Dale Earnhardt takes over third spot, and we are just seeing once again what we have seen from Dale Earnhardt literally all season long. He is just putting on a tremendous driving exhibition and obviously has a very well-handling and fast race car.
In the last 14 Bristol races, Dale Earnhardt has had 7 top 4s. So when he finishes a race here, he finishes close enough to be considered a real threat to win. This was a track that his very first Winston Cup career win came on here at Bristol.
Now, Morgan Shepherd has his hands full with Jeff Bodine, who's knocking on the door. The leader is moving through some slower traffic. The number 18 car of Dale Jarrett is right ahead of the leaders. They'll probably put a lap on him as they go out, probably out of turn number 4. Rusty Wallace there making another pit stop. You know, despite the fact that Dale Earnhardt appears to have the fastest car, he has led only 12 laps so far today. And you remember he did lose a lap early in the going.
Every time that he has gotten up near the front, something has, I guess they call them gremlins, don't they, has popped up. Some perhaps of his own doing, and he may have a shot at Jeffrey this time.
He's down to the inside of Bodine going into turn number 3. Let's see how he handles it. Again, slower traffic ahead of these first 3 cars. Coming down the straightaway again, Elliott, or rather Earnhardt, is on the inside. But the number 81 car, driven by Mike Potter, is kind of holding things up.
DK is in the lane here. DK is right in front of Morgan. Oh, they're moving around Bobby Allison. Okay, good move, DK. That was the right one to make. Now he moves down low. Well done, Mr. Ulrich. Well done. Okay, Morgan Shepherd the leader. You just saw Kenny Schrader pass through the screen. Kenny Schrader, remember, passed Bill Elliott, putting himself on the same lap with the leader, but he's not been able to get away from this trio. Shepherd, Jeff Bodine, Dale Earnhardt.
So some close competition at the moment. It is Shepherd, Bodine, and Dale Earnhardt running first, second, and third in the Valleydale Meets 500 from Bristol International. Second is between Earnhardt and Jeff Bodine. Bodine got high in turns number 3 and 4, slipped just a little bit. That was all that Dale Earnhardt needed to get underneath, and now he passes Jeff Bodine. Earnhardt is in second position and now has his sights set on the leader, Morgan Shepherd.
It's still wet up there. Jeff Bodine tried a peculiarly high move. He felt that was the move he could have to get over or around Morgan Shepherd, and it got wet up there. Look at Earnhardt.
Unbelievable. They touch going into turn number 4, and Earnhardt comes out the leader. Bodine moves to second, and Morgan Shepherd drops from first to third. You're watching the Valleydale Meets 500 Winston Cup race from Bristol International Raceway in Tennessee. It's been a long afternoon. We had something like 10 caution periods before it started to rain. We were down an hour and a half because of rain. The track dried out. We went back to racing, and since that time, it's basically been watching Dale Earnhardt march toward the front. He has put himself back in the lead with Jeff Bodine second and Morgan Shepherd third. Now battling still the Petties. It's Kyle and Richard. And this is for 5th and 6th.
Kyle has never had a top 5 finish where he's residing right now. Here at Bristol, he was 9th and 30th a year ago. He had one, did not finish. The 9th place, of course, was he was able, the spring race, he was able to stay. Oh, and Richard's in the wall.
Richard bumps the wall coming out of turn number 2. Got the car up too high and bumped the wall, but I don't think it hurt him at all. But Harry Gant was right there watching, and now may try to take advantage of Richard's mistake. But for the moment, Gant stays.
Bodine is spinning in turn 4. Jeff Bodine has gone all the way around. He's done a 360. He's got the car gathered back up, and he continues under his own power. He was all by himself, no contact with anybody else.
The race to the caution was won for second position by Morgan Shepherd, and Kyle Petty was the one who really tried to pick up a spot there on that yellow flag, but I don't think he did. We'll take a look at it once again. Here is Jeff Bodine spin running second.
Oh, Dale Earnhardt, as he came in, as we see the spin right now of Jeff Bodine, he got into that high lane again in 3, and I'm sure it's just the wet stuff right up there along the wall. It's commenting that when Earnhardt came into the pits, he almost spun into the inside wall as he headed down pit road. There's a great deal of standing water down there.
Yeah, the racetrack itself is completely dry, but there are still wet spots in the pit area. Jerry?
Well, a 4-tire change for Dale Earnhardt. He dives down pit road, has the car in the pits. They're hoping to get down and back out. As he came down pit road, Richard Childress, the car owner, signaled to Dale up toward the sky, indicating that we are getting a few drops of moisture again here at Bristol. And Earnhardt wanted to come in and get 4 tires and get back on the track as soon as possible.
Interesting situation involving Ken Schrader. He has made up his lap and now goes on to the lead lap. We are under yellow once again at Bristol. Jerry Punch back at Bristol International Raceway. Here are the top 10 at 407 laps. Earnhardt leads. Elliott is second. Richard Petty third. Jeff Bodine fourth. Ricky Rudd runs fifth. In sixth position is Kyle Petty. Seventh, Ken Schrader. Eighth, Morgan Shepherd. Ninth, Harry Gant. And 10th is Alan Kulwicki. And those 10 cars are on the lead lap. Fourth position, holding on, but just barely, is the number 5 car of Jeff Bodine, which spun a few laps ago, and he is being challenged for that fourth position by Ricky Rudd.
It looked like that Bodine was set to be one of the 2 fastest cars in the track about 50 laps ago. I really thought this race was going to come down to between Earnhardt and Bodine, but he has backed up, and Ricky Rudd, we mentioned how strong he is on these short tracks.
Oh,
and Richard Petty spinning down the backstretch, losing control, not spinning, but sliding. Richard losing valuable ground in at least 3 positions to Jeff Bodine, Ricky Rudd, and son Kyle. Richard was loose 2 or 3 laps ago up there, Bob, coming off of turn number 2.
He did lose some positions, but not all that much damage as
there
he
goes
stays
Rudd.
in the top 10. Rudd challenging Jeff Bodine once again. Remember, Jeff spun in this area of the racetrack in the high groove a few laps ago. This time he maintains control, and not only that, but maintains position.
Some excellent racing going on, and you got to say, if Earnhardt was not in this race, this would be terribly exciting. It's still pretty good because things are happening from 3rd, 4th, 5th, and on back. But once again, Earnhardt is just in a league, more than a class. He's in a world all of his own.
Dale Earnhardt, with 85 laps to go, has just about a 2-second lead on Bill Elliott. Then this battle involving Jeff Bodine, Kyle Petty, Ricky Rudd, and Richard Petty.
And watch for Kenny Schrader. He's not too far behind this group. We just stay right on it because he's a-coming, and he's going to make this a 5-car tussle in just a few moments.
Well, if I had to vote at this point in the race for the driver of the race, I think my nod would have to go to Kenny Schrader.
I agree with that.
Yeah, because
twice he's been 2 laps down because of tire problems, and through no fault of his own, he just had punctures. The air went away, and he battled back and got back in the lead lap. Still here within 100 laps from the finish.
This group approaching some slower traffic now. Let's see how things go. Slick Johnson is right ahead of Jeff Bodine as the Pettys once again race side by side. Boy, that little incident there in the backstretch in which Richard got a little sideways did not bother him. He is on the money once again.
No, when you logged as many miles and as many starts as Richard has, something like this is just a routine day at the office. He stays in the throttle. He gets off the throttle coast a little bit, but as soon as he gets it pointed in the right direction, stands right back in the throttle hard and falls back in line.
Single file now. Well, not anymore as Ricky Rudd moves to the inside of Jeff Bodine, crossing the start-finish line. Bodine, Rudd, Petty, and Schrader. Once again, Rick making a bid for that spot.
Just excellent racing. This is a terrific racetrack for the spectators. It's a challenging racetrack for the drivers, and I mentioned the early part of the show. There goes Schrader to the high side of Kyle Petty. He'll look at Papa Richard now. There goes Ricky to the inside of Jeff. All kinds of action going on. It's like the start of a first heat on a little Saturday night short track race. These guys have been going at it. And I'll say again that here at Bristol, this may be the absolute prototype for excitement in the design of a racetrack.
We'll just let the action carry itself here for a few minutes. We'll remind you that Dale Earnhardt is the leader, and Bill Elliott running second. This the scramble for third. That little incident involving Petty may have made him mad, Larry. He's on the move.
Very possible. The same thing happened earlier in this broadcast with Jeff Bodine. Somebody did something that he didn't completely approve of, and it made him angry. He came up past a bunch of folks. Kenny Schrader's best career finish was at Darlington a couple weeks back when he finished 5th. He's right there now. Well, now he's 6th. Well, now he's 5th. Now he's 6th. But Kenny Schrader may be en route to his best ever in his Winston Cup career.
And, of course, is not including the win that Kenny had in the qualifying race at Daytona, which, of course, does not count for the Winston Cup Championship. And in the official statistics, Richard almost gets squeezed on the front end by Bodine and on the rear end by Schrader. Now Ken moves to the low side of the racetrack, door handle to door handle with Petty.
Richard made a move that Kenny didn't anticipate. You know, Richard likes to run high. He was up high, so Kenny said, well, I'll take that. I'll go down there. Look at Petty. He moves down on him again. Oh, Petty is not driving the route that Kenny has been watching him drive for the last 10 or 15 laps. Richard Petty is going after it, isn't he?
I would say that during a very, very strong and heavy rain shower that we had here at Bristol, we lost only maybe a couple of hundred fans, and everybody that stayed is glad they did, because the racing has just been tremendous. Look at Petty and Bodine now side by side again. Richard trying to move into third.
This is some of the most serious racing that we have seen from the King in quite some time. Richard, Ricky, this time Kenny Schrader gets it back. Kenny Schrader pinches Ricky up along the wall. He leaves a lane. Schrader trying to hold on. He'll try to get underneath Petty. Lap car coming up. Number 64 car, Elmo Langley's machine. Is there room for Schrader? No. He's got to get out of it. Jerry Cranmer there. Jerry did what he was supposed to do. He kept going straight.
There just isn't room for four-abreast racing here, but by golly, we have seen it this afternoon in any case. Tremendous racing with 432 laps completed. Dale Earnhardt holds on to the lead, but we've got 500 once again here. The battle for third position in single file order. It's Bodine, Richard Petty, then Ricky Rudd, Ken Schrader, and right behind them is Harry Gant.
You know, there are selected people that you see going to battle like this. You see if they would be in a group of this that goes Rudd to the low side. There's Petty on the high side. Schrader's going to hope that Petty can turn back Rudd, and maybe he'll gain an advantage. But these are four people that are just good racers, and they're fun racers, and this is likely to be a very clean battle. This is just outstanding racing. Now Petty goes back down. We're going to restart the helmet dash. It's Petty on the pole. Jeff Bodine on the outside pole. In third, Ricky Rudd in the fastest qualifier. Ken Schrader. And Schrader gets inside. He gets into the side of Jeff Bodine. Bodine comes off the wall. He gets the right front.
You just can't run that many laps with that many cars as close as they were running without something like this happening. And unfortunately, the man who comes out on the short end is Jeff Bodine. In fact, that spin came on lap 385. We're at 437 now, and Bodine is through for the afternoon because he bumped the wall on the outside of the racetrack. The car is up against the wall on the inside now. And Ken Schrader also has suspension damage to his car as it comes into the pits.
Boy, it never fails to happen, does it? I just finished complimenting those people, saying that it's likely that something like that would not happen with the group that we had up there, but it did. Jeff Bodine walking along the front stretch, giving himself a few moments by himself, cleaning up the debris in the front stretch.
And there is the broken suspension on the Ken Schrader car. Look at the mess that car is in. Here's a replay of what happened.
Now, it's going to happen up front. It's going to be Bodine and Schrader. Now, the question you have to decide in your mind is, did Schrader have the line, or did Jeff Bodine come down on Schrader? Petty is going to move by. Schrader says, there's an opening. I'll go for it.
First of all, Richard had taken Jeff high on the racetrack, and Bodine was trying to get back into the groove when there was just a racing contact between Jeff and Ken.
It's a high bank, but on that replay, it looked like Schrader's line.
We have another of the incident.
Petty does bump Jeff. Jeff tries to go back down, and
Dr. Jerry Punch back at Bristol International Raceway, where Dale Earnhardt continues to lead. Jeff Bodine with an interesting afternoon, a serious-looking crash up in turn number 4 just a few laps ago, and Dr. Jerry Punch caught up with Jeff Bodine.
Jeff Bodine, a rough afternoon for you, partner. What just happened out there?
I don't really know. My car was a little loose, so we were running high. Seemed like we were holding everybody off. They couldn't get under me. I guess the tactics now, after you can't pass, you just knock the guy out. I don't know who it was that hit me, but I'm sure he should know better than do that. That's an Earnhardt move, and there's only one Earnhardt out here. We don't need any more, but I'll tell you, I've been a nice guy for a long while, and I love this sport. I love our sponsors, Levi Garrett, Exxon, and AC Sparkplug, but I guess Jeff Bodine's going to have to get tough, start knocking some guys around if that's how they want to play. You see it in basketball a lot underneath the boards, you know. A guy will start knocking the other guy, and pretty soon you end up in a war out there. I think it's a war out here right now. If they don't do something about it, I'm going to get tough and go to war, I guess.
And this
incident happened just a little bit after that. That was going down the backstretch when there was some confusion. Kyle Petty went way low. You see him coming out of turn number 4 here. He has just started down almost to the pit area off the backstretch. In the front stretch, he goes into turn number 1, rubbing fenders with Morgan Shepherd. And finally, something has to give when they go into turn number 1. Morgan is up against the outside wall, and Kyle is pirouetting around. And that was just after the Jeff Bodine incident that Jeff was just describing.
As a matter of fact, 3 laps after we went green, that incident involving Morgan Shepherd and Kyle Petty occurred. 14 laps to go. Earnhardt is in command.
When the interview with Bodine began, I didn't know if he was talking about the first bump that he got, which was from Richard Petty, or the second collision that he got, which was from Kenny Schrader. I think now, in retrospect, having listened to the interview, he must be talking about the first.
There is a lap being put on Morgan Shepherd as 12 laps now from the finish. It is Dale Earnhardt in the lead with Richard Petty running in second position. There he is putting a lap on Morgan Shepherd. Running in third spot is Ricky Rudd. Fourth is the number 7 car, which is driven by Alan Kulwicki. And then 5th is Bill Elliott. You can see Richard Petty smoking the right rear in his desperate attempt to catch Dale Earnhardt, but quite frankly, I don't think he can do it, although we have 10 laps to go.
Yeah, and he's closed the gap just a bit. And as he goes into number 3, it noticeably gets a little closer.
The 4th place car just got a little bit of out of shape on the racetrack. Alan Kulwicki in the 7 Xerox Ford. You can see the rear end coming around in turn 4. He fights to save it and does before it hits any of the concrete. And Alan Kulwicki has had an excellent performance here today. I want to tell you that most every one of the fans gathered here at this racetrack are on their feet, and about 99.9% of them are cheering on Richard Petty in hopes of seeing King Richard win his 201st career victory.
Nothing short of miracle. Not because, no, Richard's not a good one to think that he might win, but because he'd have to beat that blue and yellow machine.
You can see, though, that tire smoke coming off, indicating that he is getting every ounce of performance out of that car, and in fact, perhaps using too much on the right rear.
He has been leaning on that for the last 20 or 25 laps consistently, and that is not necessarily a good idea. You asked me earlier if tire smoke, if it happens 3 or 4 laps, no, it shouldn't be making an effect, but when you keep doing it, that's been a risky business. By the way, Kulwicki lost the position to Bill Elliott just after he had that slide we showed you in turn 4. Elliott is 4th, Kulwicki is 5th. Eric Gann is running in 6th position, and Kyle Petty is 7th.
And once again, it appears as if the Iron Man, and they used to call him the Iron Head, but the Iron Man is a more appropriate term for Dale Earnhardt, is going to win this race. There are now less than 4 laps to go. When they come down next time, it'll be 3 to go. There is the interval between Dale Earnhardt and Richard Petty. Boy, Richard is just doing everything he possibly can, and if this continues, he's going to finish second, but boy, he sure would like to win this race.
He's obviously comfortable with the line that he's taken, even though he's smoking the tires. The veteran that he is, he's well aware of what's going on, but he's going for the win, and he feels that that is his best chance, and he's willing to take whatever risk is involved to do that, because he seems to be at certain periods in the race a little quicker than Dale, but he can't get up enough steam to get around.
This time around, the white flag will be displayed, and there will be 1 more lap to go on this .533 high bank half mile. The white flag comes out. Dale Earnhardt is about to win his 5th race of the year in 7 attempts. Richard Petty, that far behind, is going to come up short, though. Here comes Dale Earnhardt off of turn number 4, and the checkered flag drops. Dale wins another. His 25th career win and his 5th win of 1987. He has only lost 2 races this year.
Bob, there have been years when Bill Elliott was dominant on the super speedways and appeared to be unbeatable. There have been years when Darrell Waltrip had good seasons, and he was particularly strong in the short tracks. But as you went from short track to super speedway, there was always that hope, well, we'll get a new winner this week because we're going to one of those tracks that the guy who's dominating the season isn't strong on. The problem with Earnhardt, and this has never been done before in the contemporary history of Winston Cup racing, he is strong every single racetrack. Flat, banked, short, paved. He probably would be winning them if they were running them on dirt.
The hot streak that Dale Earnhardt is on right now started in October back at Charlotte. And this phenomenal streak continues. Let's go to Jerry Punch.
Well, Dale getting unhooked here. A tremendous win again today, Dale. 5 wins and 7 starts, and the 5th win here at Bristol. So a tremendous streak. Congratulations, partner, on a nice race.
Tough.
You can see trying to get his breath, trying to get wiped off, Dale. An afternoon of just absolutely everything you could have in a short track race. A little bit of rubbing here and there and some beating and banging, but you're able to come back. Do you think you might be able to have a shot at it early in the race when you got down a little bit?
Well, we had a flat, you know, and got back a lap, but we made that up. And you know, the only other incident was that deal with Sterling Marlin, and you know, we run in on a slow car and got in Sterling and everything. You know, we just caused a wreck there, got in the wreck, and you know, that put us back in the field. We had to work our way back up. But once we got back to the front and we could run our pace and run our groove, we was pretty happy with what was going on.
Hey, man.
Well, Dale Earnhardt takes the win here at Bristol, and they're firing his car up after gassing it here at the pumps, and he will head back down to get the accolades in victory lane.
So Dale Earnhardt wins again in Winston Cup competition. You know, Larry, when we first went green after the rain delay, and Dale did not make a very concerted charge, right, I really had my doubts as to whether he could win this race, but I guess I shouldn't have.
Well, I thought the car had been damaged in that incident with Sterling, and I agree with you. It didn't seem like that he was going to have enough energy, the car was going to have enough energy to win the race. Very interesting race, and this is one to bring about a lot of discussion in the newspapers in the next week.
Well, we have a couple of races coming up for you here on ESPN. In 2 weeks from today, we have some exciting IMSA competition coming to you from Riverside, California, the LA Times Grand Prix. And then 3 weeks from today, we'll be at Talladega, Alabama for the Winston 500 on the world's longest and fastest race course. That'll be live at 1 o'clock Eastern Time on Sunday. My thanks to Larry Nuber and Jerry Punch for his work in the pit area. We'll see you again. We hope you enjoyed today's broadcast of the Valleydale 500. And please be with us for Speed Week every week and for our next Winston Cup race 3 weeks from today at Talladega. For now, Bob Jenkins, so long, everyone.